Request send, ba? Request send, please. Request send. Yeah, imagine wo dot ning floor katara dame. You know you can send a request. No, no, no. If you go to my live, log in. Ha. Mm-hmm. Vajala Dumo be like there's a small notification where I'm live right now, so check it. I am live. Can I call you back? Uh-huh. I am live. Let me call you back. I'm live. Okay. Okay. Hello guys, welcome to this live. Give me few minutes. Let me just get my guest in. You know, he's Badibunka, so he doesn't know these things. Yeah, accept, but you did not accept back the request. Can you send it again? Yes. All right. Sorry, guys. Welcome to this special talk with Mustapha Darboe. And I'm sure you guys. Oh, sorry. Okay, Mustapha is not right here. So just waiting for Mustapha to come in. And I'm sure this is something that we have done a couple of times when ministers are relieved of their cabinet positions or they resign or something like the cabinet reshuffle. We have always done a special program. And today, of course, we are home. So that's why we're doing it this way. So, so I'm trying to, we don't know everything, but what we know as to what happened, we'll be able to give you that. And I'm sure by now you all know that Honorable Abba Sanyang, Minister of Lands and Local Regional Affairs, has resigned. Now the question is, has he resigned or was he forced out? We were able to gather some information, so that is what we want to share with you guys. So yes. So this body bunker that I am bringing in, Mustapha, he doesn't know. He's from Badibu, so you understand why, he wouldn't happen. Hi, cousin. Eid Mubarak, cousin. Ibenyadi. Musta, I called, Niye call Ake Tandile, and I send your request. I approve it, but you don't accept it, right? Akafo Elodi. I hope it's not your internet. Try again and see. Okay. Thank you. DJ, don't call Pata here. Yes, thank you all for watching, and we want to thank you all for following. And unfortunately, today we don't have Grand Bantaba, but I think this will be another good Grand Bantaba, right? So today, because it was Tobaski and all of those, some people prayed yesterday, and so we're not able to bring you Grand Bantaba. But definitely next week, Friday, Boo and his team will be back. But we're here to talk about the press statement that just came out from the government that Honorable Abba Sanyang, the Minister of Lands, has resigned. Now, this is something that we always do when. I remember when Honorable Darboe and others were relieved, I came on and did a live and talked about what we know. When the government did a cabinet reshuffle, I came out also did a live. So this is not the first time we're doing something like this, because we as media people, when stuff like this, we also do a lot of digging out to know. Especially we had got some prior information before this, so it's really important to share with our audience what we know. So let me so we will I'm trying to God. So nimbe se tono fengo te amo tante call lang esto direct telefono. Yeah. No, but I can call you directly, Mbol. I can. Do you need internet right now? Because that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to get you on, but I cannot get you. So what I'm trying to say, I can call you there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm gonna call you direct on your AfriCell. That will be clear. I'll do that. Let me call you on your AfriCell now. You know I don't call QCell. Sorry, guys. So my guest is. So we'll be doing, somebody should pay for this call because we are doing a lot of Mustapha, somebody should pay for this call because this is going to be a long interview, but I think it's worth it. So I think we should be able to start that, right? But you won't call. I feel like I offer not going to that. Okay. Mustapha, but to be honest, but you won't find some problem. I swear to God. No, but you can find some problem. You cannot even get in, even do no live phone call. Guys, can you hear? I'm telling them somebody needs to pay for this call because it's going to be a long call. Somebody will pay for it. Oh, yes, somebody should definitely pay for it. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Mustapha, for joining us. I just welcome to this special program. I'm happy to be here. So I was just talking about telling the audience about what happened recently, just my uncle is here. I said Malagen should pay for it. Uncle Jundi said Malagen should pay for it. So Mustapha, you should pay for my call when we are ready. Okay. So so we will be talking about the Abba Sanyang resignation. Now, I do remember I was telling, just briefing the audience, sometime back when there was cabinet changes, we come out here and talk about what really happened, what we know, because when these things happen, we also find out. So I did have some information like a month ago about certain things that happened, and this particular person told me that if Abba is not fired, then I do as told him. And I was like, really, is it that serious? But yesterday also, someone else called me and said Abba has tendered his resignation and the president has accepted. But it was holiday and we tried to investigate, but you also had a prior information about that. So now it's important that we talk to the people, to what we know. Now, what really prompted this also, not just because he resigned, but the statement that the government put out, the statement that came out from the government said Abba resigned, but he also, they said, one statement, they said his resignation is effective July 1st, 2023, is for personal reasons contravening his position as a cabinet minister. Now, what kind of statement is that? Does that open more questions as to what really prompted his resignation? I want to start from there first.
Okay. I think this has been rumored for some time now. A lot of people have been talking about it. I've had a friend who called me 3 days ago to tell me about it, telling me that Abba was allegedly being investigated by NIA over certain issues relating to land allocation.
Yeah.
Of course, I haven't had the way Malagen operates. We've got to have to investigate and establish and then bring a case and then come and publish.
Okay.
So oftentimes we don't have, at any point we are working on 3, 4, 5 stories at a time. So if new cases come, you have to just put them in the work. Okay, this one has to wait. I have never had the time to properly look into this issue. So I have very little clue about it. But what is apparent is that there appears to have been, from what they are saying, an investigation. Because this person told me actually that this guy has already tendered his resignation. At this time, this was 3 days ago.
3 days ago, yes.
Yeah. So it appears to be rumored, and apparently that's the same thing that, if anything, the statement confirms.
Yeah.
So, the problem with it is that, and I don't think our political leadership has that consciousness yet. When a public officer acts, he acts in the name and in the interest of the people. At least that is the expectation.
Yes.
And that when a public officer acts in any way that contravenes the law, or in any way that goes against the interest of the public, that information is public information.
Yeah.
When someone, the penny Butut GRA collects is not Barrow's money. The land near duplex or any other place or at the beach or anywhere is not Barrow's land. It's Gambian people's land. When that land is allocated to any individual wrongly, that information is not Barrow's information, and it's not for him to decide whether to keep it secret or reveal it. That information is public information. That's what governance is about, right?
Yeah.
Now, if Abba, in any case, is involved in anything that runs contrary to what is expected of him, that information should be public. That is what good governance is about.
Okay.
That is not for Barrow to decide whether to keep it secret or have it published. Yeah. Because whatever Abba must have done, whether, I mean, this is just a speculation, we're not saying he did anything, we don't have any such evidence. But whatever he has done, whether good or bad, he did not do it in the name of Barrow or NPP or anybody. He did it in the name of the Republic of the Gambia. Yeah. And if he did what is a criminal offense, he should be taken to court, and if convicted, taken to prison. That is what, in a normal society, things operate. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea that the party has been fired, you know, he has done something that runs contrary to that contravenes what is the language that contravenes they said what is expected of him. Yeah. I mean, that is ridiculous. No such thing exists. I mean, you know, it's either that this person did something wrong, and you go about stating what he's done. Yeah.
Now, Mustapha, I want to start where, because I can confirm, and I know I have confirmed with so many other people that the minister was being investigated, the ministry, regarding the allocation of the Kamalo land. Where right now, if you pass through there, you see there are people that are fencing around the Kamalo.
Yes.
These are state properties, and you know, we all know that place, how it's more of like a government reserve area. And also there is this other land at the Kotu Strip, which also allegedly the minister and his team allocated. And these are just some of the allocations that he has made. Now,
which Kotu Strip around? Is it around the duplex area or in the league around there?
I'm not sure exactly which one, but I was told the Kotu Strip, the Kotu Strip. So that's what I was told. Another allegation was made there. Now, these were things that prompted that NIA investigation. Now, the NIA investigations, you know, their reports, you know, is difficult to get. But speaking to somebody who has a knowledge of that report, did say their investigations was around those things, you know, those lands and some other, and also it widened after that, because there were things also that came up as to when he was governor at CRR, some other land issues happened. Now, for the NIA to investigate a sitting minister or a ministry, and then nothing happens, it's just he resigned. We have seen what happened with the Banja case, right? He was accused of taking bribe for what, about 100,000. He's right now serving a 2 years prison term, right? So what happens here? What should be the normal process if what is being alleged is true? That allegedly over around 20 plots, 20 pieces of allocations, you know, most of them are reserve areas. And according to what we've been told, the due process, you know, was not properly taken. You know, we don't know how true that, but this is what we've been told. Now, if something like that happens for a sitting ministry, so forcing that person out, should that be how it should be handled?
No, and that's what I started with. I mean, the whole point is that a public officer is not working for Adama Barrow. A minister is working for the people of the Gambia. Minister action should be punished or rewarded based on how it benefits or damages the interest of the people of the Gambia, period. Adama is a watchman hired to watch over Gambia, to make sure he supervises everything and makes sure everything runs in the interest of the people. Whoever acts in a way that runs contrary to the interest of the people of the Gambia, that person should be punished according to law. And if found guilty, taken to prison.
Okay.
Period. That's what happens in any normal society. And if Adama fails to do that, now Adama naturally also now assumes the responsibility, that burden now, whether before God or man, Adama now naturally assumes that burden of not just knowing about a wrong, but failing to correct it. Yeah. So because he is the president of the Gambia, whoever acts under Adama is subjected to his supervision. And if that person does anything wrong and he fails to do anything about it, before God and man, Adama now naturally takes the responsibility for that wrong. That's what happens. That's what presidency is about. But
he has forced him out. Is that not a good start?
No. That's not. People don't steal, and when people, even at Serakunda market, when people steal, you don't say return the property. They beat them almost to death. I mean, the law does not say when somebody steals people's land. Banja, they could have asked Banja to return the $100,000 to and say go back to the consultative committee and correct this. They didn't say that. They took him to court because he naturally has done something that runs contrary to public interest issues, and he has done something that violates a law, and that is not for Adama to decide. That is not for anybody to decide. That is not for Minister of Justice to decide. That is for the courts to decide whether evidence available against this individual is enough to take him to prison and punish him for what he has done or not. And if it is enough, that person deserves to be before the court of law and is found guilty, taken to prison. Period. There is no such thing called negotiating a crime. That was what is that? Or a party is an NPP, and because he's NPP, he is subjected to a different standard of justice system. That is hypocrisy. That doesn't exist in a normal country. And the consequences of such kind of justice system is that it damages the reputation of states to a point that citizens no longer subject themselves to authority, because if justice is misapplied, it becomes vengeance. Because for Banja right now, what happens to him, if the standard that applies to him, if that standard no longer applies to other persons, that means Banja has been subjected to a vengeful act by government, because that means whatever law they applied against Banja, they don't believe it. So when justice, when it's misapplied, it becomes vengeance.
Now, this brings me to my next question, access to information. Now, an investigation was done by the NIA. The president has this report now, allegedly. If this is true, now, should we be able to have access to this information? And because that is what is going to stop us from all of these other rumors that is going on social media right now. Because yes, people are getting the information and they know something happened, because the government press statement itself is telling us something happened. Dr. Abba did something, that's why he had to leave, because that is is in conflict with his job. So that's why he had to leave. Now, what is that information? If they don't give us information, government's absence of giving people the right information itself, what kind of room and atmosphere does it create in our society?
Look, the issue is that access to information is difficult here today, as it were, on the Jame. The only difference is that they don't now use the junglers or the NIA or the police to punish us. That's the difference. But the pressure they put on people who leak information, the quality, the hurdles they put in place so that information is not leaked, those hurdles, those situations, those remain intact. And also the other issue is that we don't also have a government in fact, I mean, let me just say, for example, in principle, access to information law is passed, and in principle, it's a law that is available. for the journalists to utilize. But in practice, this law is not respected. The government does not intend to implement it, because since they passed it, they haven't even appointed the Information Commission. They hide behind cost issues. At the beginning in Parliament, the journalists have made an effort to make sure that this commission is created within the Human Rights Commission, so that it does not put extra burden on the state for financial reasons. Because journalists knew when they passed it and they said an Information Commission will be created, they would fail to appoint Information Commissioners under the excuse that there is no money. So journalists knew this. So that's where we are. They still haven't appoint the Information Commission. So even if you apply, utilize the law now, except if you file it before the High Court, because the Act is passed and it's law now. So if you probably can find it. We have tried to do that. But for me as a journalist, I don't care much about the access to information. I rely on connections, contacts, leverage to get the information I want. I find it much easier and quicker. I mean, access to information, you have to go through a legal process. You know how our courts are. So government knows this. That is why they leave it the way it is. Government doesn't care about access to information. I can tell you that. I mean, the bottom line is Gambia's government, whether it is people at the State House or people at the public office, the Gambians are corrupt. That's the bottom line. The government is corrupt flawlessly. And the government knows that. No corrupt government opens up to the media. It's foolish to even think so. Because, I mean, why would I come and tell you I stole money? Here is the evidence. I mean, I'm not foolish. So the government passed this access to information law under pressure. You know how you need to know how our governments function. They function based on project proposal and donor handouts. So there are strings donors attached to certain things. You have to have an open government. You have to have this. You have to have that. You look at even the Ministry of Finance, some of the improvements they have done is just to meet certain criteria at the U.S. Transparency Index so that they can have access to certain funds. Certain reforms they do is just to make sure that they have donors of budget support from the European Union. We have project proposal folks, people who tailor-made government to be able to access certain funds. They are not interested in open government. They are not interested in building a government that serves the people or government that is transparent in any way. I mean, I can tell you that all we do here is investigate in relation to information. I mean, so we know how difficult information that should naturally take you 1 week to do. Quick investigation takes us in this country 6 months. 6 months. A quick investigation. Naturally, in other standards, that takes folks like us 3 weeks, 2 weeks. You file it for editing. But it takes us 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Something which should have been a quick investigation. When you already have audit reports, you have this, you have that. But you are now trying to build a human face around it. You want to know when the contract was passed, who were the people sitting at the table, what were they saying, who were the contractors, what is the relationship between the contractor and the people who awarded the contract, what are the companies behind it, do some research records and know who owns them, what are the relationship with the people who awarded the contract, things like that. Just doing that takes you 6 months. So naturally, our government's attitude towards access to information is very poor, and it will continue to be like that until we have a government that is ready to fight corruption. Otherwise, I mean, no corrupt government on the planet is keen on revealing information. And that's one thing. The other thing is that the issue of land allocation.
I want us to go back to the issue of land allocation, Mustapha, because we know that the fact of the matter is Abba did not just resign voluntarily. We want to say that clearly here. We know that. He was forced. The president called him and said, you know, you have to leave or I will fire you. That we have confirmed. And
that is what I have had to. I mean,
we had confirmed that. We have spoken to people. We got this information 2 days ago, and we were trying to verify from different angles And when the press release came in, and we were all laughing, we were like, wow, why didn't we write it? Because we got to know about it 3 days ago, and we were like, is it true? You were trying to call everybody because it was Tobaski. But we can confirm that he did not just resign, he was forced out. And that is the fact. And it has to do with land issues and some other campaign financing. We'll get to that, but let's look at the land allocation issues in this country. How people are allocated lands, and the vast majority of land that is allocated right now in this country. I know you have been doing a lot of investigations around this, but I'll let you speak as to what you know.
Look, the point is that we are coming from a past that was very troubling, in the sense that Jammeh took public land and leased them and keep them in his name.
Yeah.
Now, I may not be able to reveal specifics.
Okay.
Because these are some of the issues that are, ongoing issues. But I can just speak on general terms.
Okay.
And the thing between the difference between Jammeh and Barrow's government, and I would come on these on layers, is that Jammeh decimates the environment. One, he indulged in black sand mining and other forms of mining, which destroyed large swathes of land in Combo South, and including women gardens, and he desecrated the environment. And when Jammeh Commission came, Jammeh Commission did their own environmental assessment. They went on sightseeing. They look at black sand mining, particularly the amount of resources we get there. And they said, look, the amount of money that is being reported, of course, Jammeh was taking the money we were getting from black sand mining for himself. He created this ridiculous company called Alhamdulillah Company, mining whatever, Abba. And he was taking the money for himself, and he was not paying tax. And so, the other commission said the money we're getting from this is too small. And the consequences this mining is having on the environment, it's catastrophic, not just for women gardeners, but for the beach also. If you go to Malagen's recent magazine that we've published, you would see a series of pictures on these black sand mining areas, and you would see the amount of destruction, the amount of palm trees and other trees that they cut down, and they're turning a place into a desert. The forest, which is almost like a forest, a proper beach with trees into a desert. Because in their wake, nothing, as they move, they cut down all the trees and they don't replant anything. And the other commission says, this issue has to stop. Do an environmental impact assessment in all the coastal area. Do land restoration. What did the government of the Gambia when Barrow came? Barrow, he went and gave license to Gaj to continue the mining, continue destroying the environment. They had done no environmental restoration, nothing whatsoever. They continue to destroy the environment. We've done a story on this. It's all over the place. It's even on our website. Now, the destruction began from there. Because when Jammeh exited, Barrow came in, there was supposed to be let's stop this kind of a consciousness and let's take a U-turn. Let's try restoration now and not continue the old trend. So he continued to do the same thing in TDA areas and coastal areas. They're still doing black sand mining and other forms of mining on the beach and other areas. Now that's one thing. The other thing, which is even graver than what Jammeh did, that Barrow's government is doing, is that you see, Jammeh took land. He did not do anything to land. And that is, we are hypocritical when we talk about Jammeh. A lot of people criticizing Jammeh have recently been accustomed of saying it. Jammeh is better than them. Because Jammeh, the land he took, greater number of them, he did nothing. he leased it, and it's as if I'm not saying he's keeping it for the public, but he leased it and he didn't touch it.
But he did not use them.
Reserve land. I cannot mention the specifics.
Yeah,
but I know land Jammeh leased and kept them. Yeah. He didn't touch them.
Yes, including the one we are talking about in Lamen right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. He did not build anything there. He did not authorize anyone to build anything. He kept it in his name.
Yes.
And you know, one thing that's happening in the Gambian community, especially in Combo, I mean, people from Combo should forgive us. They would take government, they would say government is taking our land, government is taking, they take government, they are alcalos, they are chiefs, people who claim to build all of these villages, they go and sell all of it. So that villages don't even have markets. They don't have hospitals. They don't have places to build hospitals. They don't have places to build recreational facilities. They have zero public land. So Jammeh have these properties in place. What is Barrow's government doing now? They are allocating this. Even those gazetted reserve lands that are meant for you just have a flyer factory there, maybe you found that there. Why would you build other places? So recommended a near Jammeh leased. So, I mean, encourage proper environmental management. I mean, I know, aside things along that line, I mean, you know, Jawara talks about environmental, even community forests all over the place. Look at what they are doing to them. They are to give some plots to some Chinese guys and things like that. I mean, look at Monkey Park. They were going to give it to America. If American government had not, because of environmental pressure, changed their mind, that place would have been allocated. Yes. They would have built inside Monkey Park a park where monkeys have as a site. They were going to give it away.
Well, Mustapha,
and that place is already destroyed because you would know that I am mostly around that area, and in some places where I am close, the mango trees that allocate it now or tomorrow. Like it's like a lawless country. I mean, with people who just simply have no sense.
And something very that they have. Now, I know you know a little about that.
Land allocation issue regarding Jammeh's assets, it's complicated. I think that the right thing for government to do is thinking of, and moving ministries that are renting. You have government departments and government ministries left, right, and center renting everywhere, taking millions of dollars from tax. How silly is that? You are selling a land only for you. It's like you are selling your house only for you to go and rent. Time is renting. I mean, ministries are renting. Places they are. Someone came to me some time back and said,
yeah,
this is supposed to be your public land. They behave in manners that, because this thing, I don't understand it. Like, even if you make 10 million, 20 million, 40 million, how much money can you make? And where are you going to live anyway? Because why would you live in a country where people want to even build a market and they cannot have a space? They cannot even have a space for a graveyard. Like, not long ago in Gunjul, people went and they wanted, someone wanted a graveyard.
Yeah.
Some people were building, and someone wanted it. He said it belongs to him. It means people do not even have spaces for graveyard. Some places are complaining our graveyard is filled up. We can't have another space to have a graveyard. And you are selling lands really like someone who is not okay. Like TDA, they are allocating everywhere. People are encouraging now people to plant more trees. You go to a wetland, you are allocating the wetland. You are allocating everywhere on the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, when I look at these things, I look at these assets. I mean, I spend days fuming in anger. You run out of words to describe people like this. Because it's against your own interest, let alone the interest of the generation to come.
But Mustapha,
like if you sell all public land, if you allocate all public land.
But the government and ministry can also say, the minister has powers to be able to allocate public land to people. In fact, I remember talking to the PS one time when there was this issue about land allocations to government ministers, and they said the government has rights to allocate to government officials. That was the response. And even me, if I want to apply, I can apply. I did apply though. I don't know where my application is gathering dust, because I applied to get land allocated to have Fatou headquarters. And I don't know where it is, because I was told you can apply just like any other person. But I think it's over 2 years. It's over 2 years. Yeah. But you see people getting allocations in weeks, in months, and it's like, are we in a different country? How should the procedure be? You know, what should be the way to go about this? Because if this is government, if this is a national, it's for the entire Gambia, right? If I, as a Gambian, or you living in Badibusele, Kenya, and somebody from Lamin can go and apply land for residential use or for business purposes, right? But I am an example. I applied as a citizen, somebody who has a business and want to apply for my headquarters. And, I can tell you, it's been 2 years since I had an interview, and I told the PS, okay, since this is a procedure, I'm going to apply. But I can tell you, I don't even know where it is, that document. So,
these people, there are certain things they tell us, they are meaningless statements. Mm-hmm. If you go, it's what Mahdi used to say with Oxford, meaningless statements. Mm-hmm. When you say, don't tell me the obvious. If I've come to you and I said you have allocated land to Samba and it's wrongly allocated, and you come to, but you can apply. That is besides the point. Yeah. I'm not a fool. I know I can apply. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows they can. People going to school know they can apply. Everybody knows they can apply. So that is not anything. It's not like saying anything. Okay. The point is, you have a situation, and that's the situation we are addressing. You are talking about a situation. Yeah. To say land is not wrongfully allocated in this country is like, except if you are living in Mars. Mm-hmm. Because Jambe went and allocated tons of land to himself here. Mm-hmm. He did it. And the people who help him do that are the same people who are there right now. The problem is in this country, Fatou, people don't have values. People are just not happy. They are not the ones destroying the country. That's the problem with our public service. That is the problem with our civilians. That is the problem with our politicians. That is the problem with everybody. People just don't have values. They don't have principles. I have looked into certain things, and I am like, Jame is better than this party.
Mustapha, that is a serious statement.
No, but it's true. I have looked into people. I get so angry. Like people who go public, they are talking about Jame as only Satan. Yeah. Jame is better.
Oh, yeah. No, be lively, please. Be lively. Don't do that. Mustapha, hold on. Sorry, Mustapha, somebody. Mustapha, sorry. Badi bunka dole call. Yalom badi bunka call. Alban jabos. It all keji live life la. Instead of your life, you make a call. Badi, I'm seriously. You badi bunka call. Tabata badi busal Kenya. Instead of in a life la, boy, I can call Kenya. Go ahead.
No, it's serious. It's serious, Fatou. What we're talking about in this country is serious. Yeah. Like people have got to now stop this. People have to know that this has to stop. If this country goes like this, it's going to go to hell. Let's not stop. Let's stop lying to each other about it. This cannot continue. Like, you cannot have a country where there is just no law, there is just no public interest. People just do as they please. Like, you can take a public land and give it to a private individual. Yeah. Like, have a kilometer square, for example. Yeah. Like the Lamen case you referenced. Yeah. How can you take it such a land and give it to a private? What is that? Like, how does a person with sense do that?
And
to
this,
do what? To go and sell it?
And this particular land,
give it to people?
And this particular land was leased from Jame, I guess, right? The one in Lamin.
Okay. So like I started saying, the situation here is this. The problem, the only way we can fix this country is for people to believe in what they say. People to have principles. And all people to stop lying and stop inshallah only for you to behave like a kuffar. Like this has to stop. Like the most apparently religious Gambian is the worst. Like what kind of Muslims is this? I mean, this is the truth, and we have to sit down and tell each other this. Like you cannot go to the mosque and pray and become a liar. It cannot go. You cannot go to the mosque, pray, come back and steal from the people. Like you are stealing from a person who has no mother, or a person who just has no father, or a person who has no father and no mother, or a person who is an awliya, or a person who, like you just cannot do that. Like that has to stop. Like we have to live in a country where people are serious about themselves and what they say. Like you cannot be a Muslim and do this. Like we have to stop building mosques then. Because I mean, this is what I see, Fatou. I mean, everybody we investigated. You can go to Malagen website right now and you do case by case basis. Everybody I have done, or Malagen, or my colleagues have done stories about, or some other people have done stories about, and I will tell you when Jame arrested them and what was the allegation against them. Not a single one have we arrested, found involved in public sector corruption that Jame had not arrested and prosecuted for the same. Not one.
Not one.
Yes, not one.
Wow.
So we have to stop telling ourselves this is a peaceful country, a religious country. It's a lie. This is not a religious country. A Muslim does not steal from people. A Muslim is not a liar. And this country is full of thieves and liars. And this we have to tell each other and be serious about, so that we know we cannot get a president who tells us it is normal to campaign and lie to people and come to office and do differently. You cannot do that. Like a 50-year-old who has a kid, almost 20 years, cannot do that and have it on record and for his kids to sit and listen to it. That cannot be a Muslim society. This has to stop. It has to stop, and this is the time for it to stop. Like it cannot continue. I mean, this is it, and people have to be serious. Both opposition and people in government need to be serious about it, because otherwise we will just kick Barrow out, and we only for us to have a far worse person. Society has to be serious about these things. When you said this is a lie, it is a lie. When you said this is wrong, it is wrong. Like a society has to go like that. But this society, unfortunately, is not going like how can you say Jame did this is wrong? Jame allocated lands to himself is wrong, only for you to take it and give it to a fool to go and sell it.
Yeah.
Like what? Who is not even a public servant? Because that person belongs to your political party. What kind of a human being does that? How does that make Jame look?
A saint.
Exactly. This is the thing. It has to stop. When opposition, religious leaders, cultural people, I mean, this society has to change. This society has to change.
But Mustapha, it's important because we have seen what happened in Gunjur and Tanya Berende. And when I saw the people of Lamen the other day, Kabiri press statement, when my reporter sent the initial statement, the initial report saying they will minketa faraba over Tamila, I was even scared to publish that. And I said to the reporter, can you go back and check? Because this statement is really serious.
No, it's not serious.
They are threatening violence. But I can understand where they're coming from. I was worried. I did not even publish that.
No. It's not serious. You see, when government fails to work by the law, people are naturally justified to take the law into their own hands and defend their own property.
Yeah.
You see, we have to understand. That is why I even have a problem if people say illegal takeover of government. There is no such thing. An illegal takeover of government is dependent on the conduct of a government in power. If a government in power misuses, abuses, and pilfers the resources of the people, it is the right of the people to take all means necessary, whether arms or otherwise, to take over that government. There is no such thing called illegal government takeover of government. That depends on the conduct of the government. We have to know why a government exists. A government is a public institution that you, Fatou, Mustapha Darboe, and other people come together and set up. We hire a military and say, if we are attacked from outsiders, this is the institution that will protect us. We hire immigration and say, this is the institution that is going to be in charge of citizenship in these affairs in this country. We hire civilian authorities to be in charge of those institutions. We hire tax authorities to collect tax and make sure people who are servicing us are paid. We put public institutions. So government is not like some distant institution. No. It exists simply and squarely to serve the people. If it does not serve the people should reserve their right to take over that government. That is the point. That is why in any country where consciousness of citizenry is up there, they tell you a government without vigilantism is not a proper government. Like in US, they encourage that. Why do you think people, they said we have the right to own our guns and protect ourselves from the excesses of the state. So this is what Lamen needs to do. If they are lands that are going to be taken away from them, only for it to be given to some individual to do as he please, they should take that law up in their own hands and defend themselves. I mean, this is what we need to encourage in this country, because how can you live in a country like this? What sort of behavior is that? People have to know that there has to be consequences for their action. A public officer is nothing but a servant of the people who operates or must operate within the confines of law. And that doesn't mean you just behave like anybody. That means confines of law. And confines of law simply means confines of law. So you cannot just you cannot just do as you please and expect the people who hire and pay you, sustain you, make sure your children go to international schools, and make sure you have health insurance, and make sure you are rich, or you live a comfortable life, only for you to now take from those people a place where they want to build a football field. And what kind of nonsense is that? A football field. I am paying you, I cannot even have a football field. You are taking my football field and you are selling it to a citizen who is not even a native of my village. What sort of nonsense is that? So it is not out of place for people of London or any other country, any other place to say this land is not going. And we will use all means available to us to make sure it is not going. And if need be, raise a private army. That is not against the law. That is your constitutional right. That is not against the law. Government exists to serve the people. If it fails to serve the people reserve their rights to take it over. That's the point. And that is what democracy is about. Unless we understand that, there will never be democracy in this country, because how do you expect people to, you think there are people behave normally when there are no consequences for their actions?
Well, Mustapha, I mean, it just seems that the law is only applied to us, the less privileged, right? Because, for example, even in land allocations, right? When government allocates you a land, they say, oh, you need to build it within a specific period. I'm not sure whether it's 1 year or it's 6 months. You need to build it within that period, right? I am bringing this specific case in point. The OIC hotel, the Radisson Hotel, that is supposed to be built for the OIC summit, right? We know the land was there were some issues surrounding it, Nene and her team and the government. There were court orders and which have been violated, and several court rulings that were not respected. And government had also allocated it to the Senegalese businessman, Mr. Ablaye Cham. Now, tomorrow is going to be July 1st. Mr. Cham, the government, the president laid the foundation, if I'm not forgotten, on 27th July. And Mr. Cham claimed that he is going to build that hotel in 15 months. Now, this July is going to be 12 months. And I can tell you, and what has happened? Nothing. No.
Yeah, for me personally, there are certain land allocations that I do not think private people should have. Clearly, yes. I mean, with or without a court, I do not think that property should be given to any individual or any organization. I think that property should belong to the people.
Okay.
Maybe put up a park there or something meaningful for the people.
Okay.
I do not think it should have been allocated to any individual or any organization. That's my personal independent opinion.
Yes.
Whatever court judgment says, that is another matter.
Yeah.
But as far as I am concerned, I think it's about time Gambian people.
But my argument here, Mustapha, is not. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but for example, if government allocates me a land and says, Fatou, I give you this land, you need to build it within this time frame. And if I don't, they have the right to repossess it. Because I know that because of the Koro Sise family incident, right? Because I interviewed Koro's sister, we know the family went through some stuff and they left. And their land that was allocated by Jame to their mother to build a school and all of that stuff. Even Jame with everything never touched that land, right? If they were away for 20 years, Jame never touched that land. They kept paying for the land, their taxes and all that stuff. Now, when this government came, they repossessed, they took the land, they never wrote to them, and they gave it to somebody. They said because it was not developed within the state. I personally went to talk to the minister about that incident because I felt this was a family, something that happened. Maybe they could have checked that decision. But I was told because they have not developed it, because the land tenure system says you have to develop it for a certain period. Now, if you give, and because of that, you refuse to give that family their land back now. And that land was allocated to another person. That is another crazy, Mustapha, that land is over 100 by 100, right? That is another time bomb waiting, because that is another crazy one. Now, this particular person, you give Abdullah Cham this project where you took it from somebody else. They did not do this, they did not do it. And you give it to Abdullah Cham to build a hotel there for the OIC. And Abdullah Cham promised to develop that land in 15 months. We are in the 12th month, nothing is happening in that land. And nobody is hearing anything from government, updating us as to this was a big project where the president of the republic himself was there. Now, when our president goes to public events like that, that carries a lot of weight and value. Now, 12 months down the line, we have not seen anything coming from that property. And nothing is happening and nobody is saying anything about it. We are all sitting and watching and we'll continue. And is that how we operate as a country? The law is only applied to people who are powerless. But the people that have money and connections, they can do anything and say anything and walk away with it. Is that how we are supposed to operate as a country?
So that's my point. You cannot operate like that. For me to respect authority, the authority must be exercised fairly, because that person who is exercising that authority is within the greater scheme of things subjected to my control or expected to be subjected to my control. Like the civilian owns the government. The people of the Gambia owns the government. If you are taking a land from me, let me know about the process. If there is a law that is to be followed, let me know about that law. If a land is supposed to be repossessed within 10 years, if you do not develop it, let me know. Let me know about the process. Let me be aware that and also if you are going to reallocate that land, let me know the process so that I know whether this is fairly done or not. If it is fairly done, alhamdulillah, move on. If it is not fairly done, it should not happen. So my point here is, do not do certain things that are just not right. That has to stop. You have to do things in accordance with law and in good faith. We cannot be criticizing another person, Jame. Like Jame's legacy simply cannot end. You are doing now Jame, the same thing Jame does. What? So what are you talking about? What is Jame about?
Jammeh has been away for 6 years now.
Exactly.
We
So
cannot continue. We cannot continue.
People, Gambians need to believe in what they say. And I said this, terrified, because a society cannot simply, all societies that have gone to hell, they have at the heart of them injustice and arrogance. And what is happening in the Gambia is arrogance. You hear public servants say, Alake, if they will talk about it for only 1 week.
Yeah.
Now, after 1 week, social media, they
at this point, yes.
You cannot be a Muslim and talk about that, because Muslim, or you believe that you are.
But Mustapha, the truth is, what else do we do? We talk about issues, and
it goes to also, for me, I'm not worried about what the citizens can do. I am worried about the mindset.
Okay.
The mindset of the individual saying that.
Okay.
That means that person has no values. That person has no dignity, because what is the pride in stealing? What is the pride in sada? What is the pride in being fed? You and your family, what's the pride in that? It's more, for me, the mindset of the individual saying that. It shows that this society sunk to a level that is unacceptable. Like that is like where people no longer worries about morals, people worries about no religion, people worries about no values, people worries about no principle. And you say, well, you can say anything or you can do anything, and then when they go, it will let them more sponsor. Inshallah, Allah Akbar. Because you see these things and you are like, this guy. I mean, I felt afar from a beefing, and this is the guy who is doing this. Like, what sort of attitude is this? So we have to. This goes to the heart of the country itself. If Gambians don't change, this country will never change. For Ilayomiti, I mean, we will change one government for another government for another, and the same rotting people, the same rotting system will continue. Because it cannot go like, and it will continue until the country slides into a civil war. Because that's what happens. It is it is injustice that creates war. Every society that ultimately descends into civil war is a society where injustice is perpetrated like it is in the Gambia. Corruption is perpetrated like it is in the Gambia, only for it to be followed by not responsive behavior, but arrogance. The people you are saying that to own that government. And I don't believe in ethnicity in the Gambia, like tribalism, because minority, 0.1% of every tribe, mostly, maybe 0.1% of every tribe. For example, it's a minute minority. It's a minute minority. So it can minority only for you to steal from them. It is international schools. You are going to private clinics. They are going to public hospitals. If you go to Banjul, you find all members of all tribes sleeping on the floor there. They don't even have a place where they will meet, so that when there are people coming from Basi, or people coming from Badi, or people come from LRL or UL or wherever, they come and sleep there. So there is no such thing as no father in this country. It's a lie they are telling to them to deceive them. Look at public officers. I mean, this country is 10% poorer today than 2016.
10% poorer than 2016.
According to World Bank report, I mean, the poverty rate was 48, no?
Yeah.
And now it's 53, I think. 58 or 53 or 58. And either at the bottom, at the lowest level, is 5% poorer today than few years ago. Yeah, COVID-19, Corona, Ukraine war. Ukraine Ukraine is doing better than you. Like Ukraine war, you suffer more of the consequences of Ukraine war than Ukraine itself. Are you a fool? Like what is that? Like what kind of sense is that? Like your economy does badly than Ukraine itself that is going to war. Ukraine that is at war.
I saw somebody very interesting watching.
I mean, think about.
Okay, go ahead.
5 in every 10 Gambian. Just one thing. 5 in every 10 Gambian lives below $2 a day.
Okay.
Now, what is $2 a day? $2 a day is basically around $100. That is 5 in every. It's a little Gambian or Gambian na more lulu, more tankono, more tankono, more lulu. They have $2 a day. That's basically $100. That means they only have enough to buy 2 loaves of bread and maybe 2 eggs or 3 eggs or 4 eggs. Si kili nani or si kili saba or mburu fula and in my 5 in every 10 Gambian.
And how will
the kind of a country we want to build for the people?
Mustapha, when the gas power tariff in Cabria raised, and I was sitting down here, and I was talking to my friend, and I said, at this point, I'm not even thinking about myself, because if I tell somebody, gas power amount for sang, amari bafula leko iba exaggerate can. So I have graduated that, I've concluded I will not even say the amount, right? But I sit down here and I look at people, they buy $50 a day or $100 a day. Saying right now, not like $50 less sang, it be 85 less sang, right? Because for example, my house, let's say I was buying 12,000 a month. Now I'm 12.5. Now I'm buying 17,000. Can you $74? Can you look at that gap? 5,000 plus for the same unit. Now the ordinary Gambian, me along $100 less sang, be let's say about around 85 lesson or 75. How can that person sustain that and be able to live a decent lifestyle? And still, we talk about that one day. We discussed it. People went to Nawek and complained about it, and that's it. That's the end of it. And it has come to that culture. Well, uncle, saying like, if I follow social media, bank is going to die down. So don't worry. They know the mindset, they know how the Gambian people operate, and they make sure they also prepare for that. Let's just know that's it. After that, I will die down. So as a country, I know for me, I don't advocate for anything violent or anything, but the conversation on the next level. For example, writing petitions, going to the National Assembly, doing those things and following it up. But we just talk about it on social media for 3 days and that's it. And everything else continues.
In fact, there are few things in this country there are few things that play with our mind.
Yeah.
And the first thing is the statement you just mentioned. To say, I don't want to, I don't advocate for violence.
I don't do that.
The first thing you said, I don't advocate for violence.
Yeah.
The only violent institution in this country is Gambia government. The only violent people in this country is Gambia government. There is no violent Gambian citizen in this country.
Why do you say that?
Against the state. No, you see, we have you see,
so
democracy democracy along so that we know how to build the state. You see, Mansakunda you hired Mansakunda to do work for Gambian people. Right? Now, and that Mansakunda has a responsibility. Mansakunda Army will be police will be those are the people who are oppressing the people in this country.
Yeah.
Nin sunyaro be ke kan janka banko tinya Mansakunda la kake. Nin tinyaro be jam banko dingola sota fengo kat nya pinke bulu Mansakunda la kake. Ite mass scale arm robbery jumaida. Mansakunda la sumoti nyim banko kan Mansakunda la tinyaro. And Mansakunda is the one with the capacity nimmo li wulita ila stadium against that tinyaro to oppress the people. So the only violent people here are the government. That's the thing, period. They come up with excuses, protest is violence. Protest is not violence. Protest is the language of the oppressed people. And it's the only language people like governments understand anywhere in the world. Governments don't jump up and stop oppression or stop stealing. It doesn't matter whether I had a sunyaro. Be serakundante a sunyaro because sunyaro man better. Sumo along. Sumo bionet. Sumo because sunyaro bula kabo sunyaro man better. Because akakele because I believe that sunyaro le babondila. So sunana the kere menga sunya. Sumo akamena sunya wala kawula kama. I am make sure sunyaro stop. And you do that using any means. That is not violence. That is self-defense. The Gambian people own the state and every architecture of it. They own that state. They own these ministries. The gun, they own it. The bullet, they own it. The police uniform, they own it. The soldier uniform, they own it. Everything in this country, Gambian people own it. You can't say in a tax land. The car that the president rides on, Gambian people own it. It's in their name. So the Gambian people own the state. If the state behaves in a way that does not go in their interest, protecting their resources is in self-defense. That is not violence. And protest is not violent. Calling for protest is not violent. You know, those things we have to. France will continue. I mean, in a democracy, in a normal France, they are protesting every day.
Right now, America, they are protesting.
Pakistan, America,
right now, they are protesting against this. Mustapha, Gambia Janda Male. Ikafuko, you say something about, for example, the judiciary, or you say something about somebody. Hey, you know, in America yesterday, the president of the Republic, president of the United States, when the Supreme Court rules out something that he thinks is wrong, they come out and they come out strong. This thing I'm doing, some people are telling me, this thing I am doing right now, some people are telling me, Mustapha, we have seen steps. Go ahead.
Banco man like in B. Patio, ikawale oppose. The language of the opposition more for hamja.
Yeah.
Patio la ka oppose. Mantakunda buka oppose. Mantakunda munde talent.
Bereta.
Mantakunda munde talent.
Yep.
Mantakunda buka oppose. If I come to you and say this is what you must do, you just have to look at your damn POR and see whether that's in line with your job. If it's not in line with your job, and tell me no, this is not in line with my job. That's the responsibility you have. That's the thing. Mantakunda buka oppose because Mantakunda mo banko di mo bele tat. And banko, of course, Mantakunda cannot be a kenwal. But certain basic things, such as doing basic things right, you are expected to do that. Like corruption. If corruption happens, you need to fix it. For integrity of state, in a normal country, like even in UK, other people, other places, America, in Scandinavian countries, Arab world, new corruption in an efficient state. For they make sure they do something about that. Why? Because integrity of the state is important. People need to believe that when a wrong happens, I have a government that is going to stand and take care of it. Otherwise, you know what that breeds? Insecurity. If people think that when a wrong happens, nobody will care. They take the law into their own hands because the state, people have law becomes, people ultimately lost state in state. That is the reason why government exists, and that is the reason why. So the people who are saying, if they talk for 2 days, 3 days, those people are ignorant. They don't know why government exists and why it's important for government to do right things, right time, and the right way. That's very, very important, even for the integrity of the government. Like, what is authority if people don't believe in it? What is authority if people don't respect it? And authority is our combined power. It's the combined power of all the people in the country. So, ning electoral tambita. Political worker can, but Mantakunda Mobugo oppose no, because everybody owns the government.
Yes.
Everybody's money goes to run the government. When you are going to be judged, whether before man or God, you are going to be asked what you have done for everyone, whether that is opposition or whatever you believe in, or your people you call your people, you are going to be judged based on what you've done. I mean, look at what Jammeh was claimed to have done. I mean, the allegation is that Jammeh killed some people, right?
Yes.
And of course, we know this to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But some of those people he killed are not people who are his supporters.
No.
The opposition or left, right?
Huh.
But those oppositions are Gambians whose money goes to finance that same car he was riding in. So I tell people, I mean, often when I have made this argument on Facebook a long time ago, that the idea of having supporting someone based on ethnicity, based on clan, based on religion, it is actually mayande. It's foolish.
Yeah.
Because at the ultimately everybody bears your own responsibility to feed yourself and your family.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, whether Fulole, Mandinko, and Christiano, and Jolale, whatever religion you belong to, whatever clan or tribe you belong to, the money that ultimately comes to be taken, to be utilized to grant services to the people,
mm-hmm.
So nobody is doing you a favor.
Mm-hmm.
But many are the people who are in positions, you are paying them for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those people will need to for example.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's Mandinka for the sake of it. Need to call a new fasa, for example. Side didn't take a fasa. Nieta fasa, nieta can minister. Side can the fasa. It can the fasa.
Honey.
So that's the point. Like, what is your fasa in politics? Or what is opposing a government? Like, I put you there as Minister of Land, for example, to make sure that land is managed here properly as a public resource. You understand? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's even say I did that for the sake of it. So you are selling that land. Are you it in the fasa? So the idea is that, the problem we have in this country is public awareness, more consciousness of what a government is. Why does a government? I have visited with a colleague one ambassador,
mm-hmm.
and he told me something. The person told us something that still stays with me.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, there was something happening in the Gambia. These people, I suppose he meant the Gambia.
Yeah.
What do they want from a government? I mean, go down, sit down, have coffee, think about this. These people, he means Gambia.
Mm-hmm.
What do they want from a government? I mean, think about it. Like, what do we want from a government? Like, why does a government exist? Like, is it because we want a government to build a road? Yeah. Yeah, of course. We want a government to build a road. We want a government to build hospitals. We want government to do things. We want government to stop corruption. We want government to protect lives and property.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it seems simple. But go down and think deeply about it. Then you will understand the idea of support. I mean, you see how ridiculous it is that support. I mean, after election is passed, there's no such thing called support. He has a job to do. He either does that or he doesn't. The idea of support, you have to sit down and think about it. Like, what is the basis of it? So the problem is we have these institutions, we have these ideas, we haven't still sit down to reflect on it. But what do we want from a government? Mustapha, how should a government behave?
I think the biggest failure after the transition is not be able to implement what this government came to do, to build strong institutions, to build strong institutions where people will not just use their powers and their offices to say, do and give executive orders. And that's what we have seen going on right now. And, there are a lot of things that are happening. Some of them we cannot even speak about it openly, but to be honest, there are so many things happening, Mustapha, that were happening in Jammeh time. For example, even in the media industry, right? There are so many things happening. If cabinet ministers or government officials can call managing directors or other people and say, cancel her contract, cancel this person's contract, don't give business to this person or person, because they are opposing government. And that is implemented, right? So
And you see, I usually laugh when some people say, Barito, you don't write good things about the government. I tell them, hey, and I take pride in it. I have zero obligation to write PR articles about Barrow, and I never will. To death.
I think
why would I do that?
I always,
what is this thing called? You don't write good about.
You don't write good about. They tell you don't write good about government.
My job as an investigative journalist is to investigate wrongdoing.
They tell you don't write good about government. You don't write good about government. Ibuka President Barrow la kube to foite President Barrow imay lefu nyuma sakundala.
Silly in themselves.
Mustapha, you see, when you hear, you sit down, you're thinking, are we going through something like this in this day and age?
I mean, Fatou, ultimately, this is what I was trying to say. If you read Fanon, some of the things he was saying in the Pedagogy of the Oppressed is that there are times, and we have to understand, like, you cannot change what you don't understand. For you to understand an oppression, you must understand the characters of that oppression. You must understand what it is, in the clearer detail. What is it that I want to change? What am I angry at? Like, do I see in the person I am trying to change a model of manhood? So let me give you an example. When in the subconscious, when Barrow says, for example, I am more powerful than Jammeh. I have economic, I have soldiers, I have the police. It tells he is not. It shows you what he cares about. It shows you what. It tells you what's his mindset. Like, what does he understand to mean to be power? Like, whether it's approval or disapproval. What is this understanding of this thing called power? Like, what impresses him? Was he in disagreement with Jammeh? Does he understand what he was even against? He doesn't. He was impressed by it. It was just that he was not in charge of it. So we have to, and that's the next phase of our transition. We have to build a mass, a public that understands what is wrong with us and what needs to be corrected, so that we correct ourselves. Because, sometimes what the oppressor sees in the oppressed, what the oppressed sees in the oppressor is basically, they're impressed by it. They see in themselves a model of manhood, kewalam. Kewalam. But we need to understand, Kewa is the one who does the right thing. That's what Kewa is. Kewa is a good person. Yeah. Because it's difficult to do a good thing. It's easy to be a thief. Like, I can take a bribe. I mean, Malagen, we have investigated people worth money. I mean, we can take a bribe. It's easy to do that. Yeah. What is easy is to refuse to take a bribe. What is difficult is to refuse to take a bribe. So Kewa is not someone who amassed power. No. Kewa is someone who takes opportunity to serve the people. Kewa is someone who takes inconvenience in service of the people he loves. That's what Kewa is. Kewa is not the one who goes to brag about power. No. So, but we have to understand. So it's in our mindset. Things have to change. The basis, the foundation of our politics is what is wrong. Like, we have to change things. Like, go to political parties. Thinking has to begin from there. Political parties have to start to transition. We were fighting. They were fighting against Jammeh.
I want to come in there quickly.
There was a standard politics that
go ahead.
Jammeh was talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
There was standard politics that Jammeh was perpetrating.
Yeah.
And that standard politics, you were not against Jammeh. You were against some of those practices. And that has to be clear in your head. That means you need to understand that oppression you are fighting. And you need to understand the characters of that oppression. Like, what is it that is doing this? Like, when you come, what is it that we must do to make sure we move from this era to this era? Justice. What is my position in justice? Like, do I want to take over the state and make it my own? I mean, I was talking to my colleague here before you call, and I was listening to a particular politician, and I said, this is part of the wrong things that I have. Like, we don't need Jato in government. We don't need Jato in politics. We need people who think in politics. Political Monsule Jato la Mustapha Darboe. Jawara and Philip give us time, that's what they do. We don't need that. Imagine Jato in politics. You need someone who has sense. In politics, politics is a problem-solving profession. So you don't need Jato. So those things need to change. But people are still violent. They go, and political parties are run by WhatsApp groups where tribal issues, that is not what the politics should be about. So the beginning has to change for us to have a result that is going to be different. So the process that produced the current crop of political leadership, the process that produced this kind of public servants, that process in itself is flawed. And no process might change. Mathematics simple. It's simple. I'm not a good math student, but I know that formula kilimo. Use ide answer kilimo la soto. So I mean, we have to change things so that we have people who have shame. Moment come man. Na try follow me come ko carry sunya role ka manule, because when they care at you, reality, because when they family it handy. And the minute time will do the will be conquer the laring, dinding on them quality. Don't be your alia team will let you, don't be your buy and lend. Don't be your month you pass them on the road. It will be a few motor on a $3 million motor Yasang will not Kodola. Say it that is what problem solving is about. That's what public service is about.
Ninga most of them
more they will understand now, more you malosha. Because come on left us we know I mean, and these things we have to tell each other. I mean, I was telling an old man today, we met at some place, and he was talking to me about my job, and I had to go through some of the things we go through. Like, you take these public officers, I mean, some of them, if you go to court, these people, inshallah, I mean, people, religion has to change people. This society is overly religious with people whose behavior is rotten to the bottom of it. That has to change. So that has to change. So what if I will change in society the and it's a dangerous stage, because in a country where half of the people cannot afford food, I'm not talking about proper food, I'm talking about food. That is in a dangerous state, especially when you have people who are indoctrinated into believing issue of ethnicity, issue of clan, issue of this, issue of that. You cannot even build a country that feeds half of its people. What pride must you have?
Yeah.
You should put, if you cannot even build a country that feeds half of its people, what pride do you have? You are useless, because you cannot take charge of your environment. You cannot subdue the destiny of your people. So what are you? So people need to take those pride, those egos aside, reform ourselves, see to it that look, this is what values are. Society must be run based on values and principles. If we say, yeah, Jambe is wrong, party somebody is wrong, it can marry for anything will take it, you should not do it. You understand? You should not be lying to people, including your children. Because society entertains the fact that I mean, that is much better than someone being I will buy you a just to make sure put in the way that and I will tell some at the Dentibabos and night. Didn't you fire for the new my along I can name it. But didn't you know the funny I'm telling you.
My face normal.
It's normal. The society and brought up all don't brought up coming missing the society. Don't brought up telecoming Fania is normal. I see it every day. They don't even care. You can see more now take a rape, negotiate rape, like raping a baby. They can negotiate like normal people in a society. You can have police on, you can see for a case on far. Is that a theft? Mass theft. You can police on the car. I mean, rape of people. You can all rape. You can have police. You can have a victim of the police on the Catalan Gelona. In a puppet vessel, the alleged puppet vessel, the police on the Catalan Gelona. What kind of a society is that? So that is the thing that needs to change. No more funny. Yeah, for Ilayo Midi. Change one president to another, nothing will change because more than we are falling. Like country itself.
Wow, interesting. Mustapha, this conversation is so interesting, and at some point because everything that you're saying is what just we need to hear. But I think it's important to have these kind of conversations. Come on, fanang hakilo bulandi. Because tonya kuja call besiari nede. And we the thing is we will not get tired talking about these issues. Nyunumuntola role is our role to especially in a line of work is investigations, and that's why most of the time I always check on with you and say, hey, because that is what you do exclusively. You understand? And I think it's important for people to know more like people like you and me and and we will continue.
And also for them to know that we are here and they will continue to deal with us for
Mustapha, this is my thing.
That's what we will do because people are joking.
Mustapha, this is
and people need to understand that, like
you
cannot say they should be encouraging you. Like they should be encouraging you, me, every other journalist out there to be doing this because this is public service.
Yeah.
So what is public service is to uncover wrongdoing because what time fix it so it's wrong
well, the
wrong change.
Mustapha,
you cannot make progress.
Yeah, and the bottom line is, and I always tell people, the bottom line is, we came into this world with nothing. One thing I always take from you, I remember there were stories. I don't know if you remember this conversation. There was a time, story. Hey, Mustapha, new story kwenye Fatou mtola mol mu fuaro leti. Fuaro lebe batari nyimbanko kan. Ninko mesila story bekan iko nyate beteala. Fuaro le sama kono imang jambando soto fuaro be jana. And I went home and I thought about that, You were like nimu fuaro la na fulo leti, nimu fuaro la balwoti. This is not just me and you ntolbe AC koto jang. And I went home and I thought about that. And I was like, you know what? He is right. At some point, it might get tough. It might be difficult. We go through so many things, things that we cannot put out here. We cannot say. But the motivation, especially for somebody like you, is the ordinary folk out there. Me alonko, what depending on fertilizer la, depending on tractor la pura la samado, what you anu mano ba dingol balloon dila wala. So ntol ala ntol fanna role kenyinti kafu mule bekeri, and we will continue to see that. And I said to people, and the other day I was telling my staff, you know what? it's going to be difficult. And I know for the next couple of years, it's going to be tough. And I know that. I'm not saying why. I know, and I know if those of you that are watching who think, I don't know, we know everything and we know what is planned, what is going on, what you're doing, but we don't care. We are going to do our job. Nothing is going to stop us, because at the end of the day, look, at the end of the day, more like casino. But we cannot just keep quiet, and just because somebody wants to stop our livelihood from somewhere and because of war, that is selfishness itself. And my dad said this to me, and that moved me.
Ultimately, also, a media house exists to serve the people.
My
media house is a public institution.
My dad said to me, Fatou, natra because moko ite abete la contrago le so wabe kula so ite bo ko talala ibe change la akonya ko ite man la ibe minke kan. You're not just doing this for you yourself. Even though bankole. So I thought about this. I'm like, maybe I'm being selfish if I said just because somebody's threatening something, so I should just let go of everything. So this is sometimes you don't have to think.
Ultimately, it goes to that foundation also.
Yeah.
Because where is the loss? Where is the self-esteem of the individual who is not saying what she is saying is wrong, but that I want to censor her?
Yeah.
It's not saying what you are saying is wrong, but I want to censor her. What is self-esteem?
I don't know.
So what I'm it's the kind of society, is the kind of children we are raising.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is what this whole thing comes down to. And I told you here back in time that Jamie Mole Bene arrest. The case of all and arresting you is not a badge of honor. Jamie politician will be arrested. I arrest political command.
Yeah.
I will be arrested soon. I will come on for a jelly. So this is not a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Jamie will be arrested. I more investigate, and we found wrongdoing against them. Jamie be arrested, and I be arrested on file. Honey, some of those people many better like case coma. Jamie will arrest them.
Exactly.
The same people look, Jamie arrest Jamie. So, and they are the same people also talking about audit report being an opinion.
Yeah.
The same people, Jamie will arrest Jamie. Jamie was not a fool. He was not doing as he pleased. Of course, Jamie was a mad guy. He was doing, a lot of crazy stuff. But there were a lot of things he was doing that were also based on evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, we just keep telling each other nice things. We are a religious society. Gambians are good people. Gambians are this. A good person. How can a good person be a thief? It doesn't work like that, because being a thief is a violent thing. I mean, that is violence.
Yeah.
Because poverty in itself is violence. I mean, it's violence. I mean, watch people, war films, people who are hungry, and look at what happens to them.
Yeah.
Poverty is the worst form of violence.
Mustapha, you know what? We will definitely, I think me and you should do, public, these public lectures are just, speaking from your heart. Just randomly, it's important.
Yeah, you get angry sometimes. I mean,
yeah, I could see the anger in you. Yeah, long.
Also, because you cannot in the sense of, me too, I have a boss.
Because
me, sometimes I get pissed off and I get so angry, like, because you need cases, that this is wrong.
Yeah.
You see that I'm trying to compare it.
Because and I see ila anger, I understand. Because even from our normal conversation, sometimes because some of the things you come across during your investigations, you get angry and yeah. I remember. I'm not going to name a particular person, but I remember I interviewed one person, and you're like, "Fuck, you come in for the platform," and you were like just going crazy because how they present themselves. They present themselves, and what they're doing is totally different.
But completely different. I mean, I have a lot of friends in government. They come to you, they tell you things, this is what party did. And audit reports, there are tons of them. Like, National Audit of this book in a report all them are public.
Yep.
But there are tons of audit reports on places. And in a corruption, is so brazen, like this, so you know, you wonder, these people, do they care? Like, you know, where do they come from? But also, the public needs to know. You need to go back to Chorno Jallo's statement, the executive director of CRC.
Yeah. You
know, when Chorno and his team went around the country, you know, when they were coming to build the constitution, they went to talk to the people.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing he said is very striking. What they told him was, at some point they told him, yeah, you know, we need to, they were trying to, encourage them to come up with a mechanism that is going to public property and public pause, you know. And he was saying, can you imagine, like,
wow.
That means yeah.
Wow.
Like, yes, like my son, he's in government, but I don't trust him.
I don't trust him.
So people are not stupid, you know. People know these things are happening, and when people lose faith in government, it's a national security issue, because it means like I can say, for example, Malagen published, it has series of quality control measures.
Yeah.
In fact, in most cases, it's not controlled by me. I do my investigations, my colleagues do their investigations, they pass it, it's edited, it's fact checked, then it comes, everybody goes through it, look at it, the evidences are presented, so there is a almost 100% chance that we can't publish falsehoods. But when that kind of control measures is in place, you have what credibility. More book of they don't say this thing very important. They don't say that. When they see it on your platform, they know no, this one is true.
Yeah.
It's true. Right? Government also operates like that.
Yeah. Government
operates based on credibility. If government has a good reputation, if government has a bad reputation, ultimately, that is a national security issue, because institutional.
But Jamaica more
prosecuted. In other countries, in other countries, more corruption, they can make sure not that in some countries corruption will be whether it's US, anywhere in the world.
It's everywhere.
But not at a far public, they make sure something is done about it.
Yes.
Because that is important for the credibility of the state and state institution.
And I think that is why it is very important for government to come out and tell us. It only a statement of Aba ifendeke meaning ala plazo mang tanyola. He did something that contravenes his position. So they have when you
allocation of other people interest.
Oh, come now, I can
corruption of an That's also one thing you can look at. In terms of Ninta Nita the core economy. Abela Terikuya Kamane. Yaja, Terikuya Kamane, because you are Bula Kula. Nebula Kula. So it Ninte Bulamena Neo for Sai Nita and the Bulamena. If an ambassador. So all I make any Manyaki. That is why can you marble? They are thinking, okay, you know, I think, okay, no, then I had a council to them, you know. But you have a deputy CEO who is corrupt. Okay, deputy CEO, I'm not going to I think, but you can continue and be a councillor. It's the same.
Yeah. But Mustapha, 1 hour see the one natal. Shay, more. Okay, 1 hour see that. That's a whole long hour call. That's a whole 1 hour call. Sorry. I see that time limit.
Yeah, and you have kept me already too long. I mean, I'm just so I blast out here. I'm just so hungry. I mean, but it's
Maddie will buy you dinner. Maddie will buy you dinner.
I'm already going home, you know. I mean, no, it's crazy. I mean, these things, we have to fix it for our own sake. Like, and I hope they understand that this is against, I mean, they don't get it, but when you this country, like, everybody owns a stake in this. regardless of, you can think that you are high and mighty. Jame was high and mighty. Where is he right now? He's in Equatorial Guinea.
No, but if you ask him, Hani Kabrim Baro for Nata, Baro ni Minister Jellebenum Borola government, Minumantara JP. How many people that were on State House, they are not there anymore? So if you think because today you are powerful, you can use your power to do certain things, right? You know, there's admitted now never bole jele. So
also Fatou, you will destroy your own country because, for example, I told you about public places.
Yeah.
Public places, every community in this country, whether Lamenne Mubang, Banjulundin Mubang, Faratole Mubang, Birikama Lembang, 5 things are
yeah.
It needs to have a place for a public park, a recreational place. It needs to have a place for a community library. It needs to have a library so that we encourage reading. Like people can go, sit down, pick up a book, go to the park, read, have access to internet, do whatever they will.
Yeah.
Right? You have to have a place for a badedula. You need to have a place for a market. And you need to have a place to build a mosque.
Yeah.
So you need to, where the Hanatan Yunbeji, they need to have a reserve land there along. It can fit all these things inside.
Yeah.
So what reserve land Yantaradula Betale? You understand? And also, assets so many Yaronko, you know, other assets that belongs to the state. Will be Yanta keep so that you keep them. Governments are useful. Ministry that is renting and paying $3 million a year.
Yeah.
To go to a government building.
Yeah.
Why are you selling a government building if a ministry is renting? Like, what sense is that? Or you go and, I mean, so these things, this is not, you are not doing these kind of things for anybody. This one, you are doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
You understand? Yes, because imagine a kind of for the primitive accumulation of wealth. Like, for example, if you have 20 million, 100 million, for example, you are still living in that country. If there are no recreational centers, if there are no proper public hospitals, if there are no proper burial sites, if there are, who does that? That affects you even when you are a millionaire. So those things, you are doing it for a selfish reason. And for crying out loud, you have already told people, let's support each other. You know, so they have this warped mindset. Your Gambian feeling delay. Political class have made people think in ways that don't exist. Politics is based on interest.
Yeah.
Me, when I go to the poll, I look at who among these people is going to serve my interest. Politics is a selfish thing. I look at who is going to serve my interest.
Yeah.
So for investigate like I want to have a commanding call to investigate. Go aside, commanding a sumala mutal for money content now. Not demanding a sumo money at public office.
Yep.
Because so demanding a sumalati like so assume money at a public office. So sumo money at a public office. So the idea is no FASA in public office does not exist. You are, because I mean, you are there to serve all of us. If you serve even a section of the society, that in itself is a violation of your contract. That means you don't belong there.
Yeah.
So unless people know this, okay, for example, if they make my brother, for example, the governor of the central bank, and he steals money. I ask somebody kala account or. So when the fasa?
Barira brother for them.
Barina brother, but I'm fasa because he's stealing from me. You see, he's stealing from me, no?
Yeah.
Because I'm a Gambian. Okay, if I take my brother, and if I, for example, folks like me, I'm a journalist, I'll never be president, but if I am president, I take my brother and appoint him as the director of NAWEC. And my brother is a former teacher. He has no idea of NAWEC. He ruined NAWEC. NAWEC ruined, and people cannot have Sande o fasa, right?
But ima fasa. Ima body will fasa.
More fasa because I appointed a fool to ruin a public company that belongs to everybody. So you see how warped this new fasa mindset is. You take somebody who has no capacity, appoint him as something because you are helping him, and for you to allow that person to now destroy what belongs to everybody, including himself.
Yeah.
What is that? So people need to go through some form of self-education and know what is a government. Like this ambassador told me, your people, what do they want from a government? People, everybody should go and sit down and think about that. Us, what do we want from the government? What is in fact a government? No one be fear dundila mulu kono hi violent tale fenke dan dem ka Facebook le violent tale fenko len want to take over government, they want to do this, they want to do protest, and so what? Like it is jumality. Are you the owner of that office? Do you own it? Is it your property? You are being paid from taxpayers' resources. You are getting rich, the state is getting poorer. Look at the people. I told you the state is poorer today than it was 5 years ago. But look, tell me one public officer who is poorer today than he was yesterday. Kilinteji. The president is not poorer today than he was 6 years ago. I don't want to go into that. But if you go to his last declaration, remember before I can press there. Poor Babu. The president of Birakana, he had infinity. He bragged about it. He said he bought it for a land worth of 400,000, didn't he? At the last declaration, he declared 16 vehicles. 16 vehicles. You are bragging about an infinity, and now you have 16 vehicles. The people you are ruling are 5 years poorer than they were 5 years ago. 5% poorer than they were 5 years ago. These kind of things need to ring in people's head so that it's not about politics. Political because like I think our politics needs to change, and I told many people that. But then the political change now, we have to start with ourselves. The honesty has to start from inside political party. More yes, in a political party, don't how in political party now munekam. Mune foundation don't for example, that in itself needs a special education. Nyofas are willing to build a country that will serve every Gambia. What is Nyofas?
Yeah.
A Gambia that is going to serve every Gambian. A Gambian where a Fula, a Manjago, a Sarakule, a Jola, everybody will have confidence that me a commandee and you are going to appear before a panel. Regardless of which tribe you come from, you know that you will be treated fairly.
Yeah.
You know that if you get a job, it's going to be based on your merit. You know that you have a public institution that is going to serve you, regardless of who you are. Well, in your facade, that's the thing. So, your facade, political, they need to educate their people what is your facade and how do we accomplish that your facade? How do you build a country? Like, what must we do? Corrupt people, what must we do with them?
Yeah.
Those are things we need to sit down and talk about. But it's not going to WhatsApp, Kanyoning, Karuol Kerating, Karu Fakadoloming, so Fakadolomit Lamnebo.
Okay.
So those are things that we need to change. No one agenda falena. Like I told you, you will change one president for another. Sumbuka sunyar bula kensenk. No, nanaman sort of me retired.
Sumo buka retire.
No, sumo buka retire. Sumo ka arrest like a mile. That's the thing. Sumo buka retire. You either have to stop the sumo from sunyaro or sumo ya bulo mutaya samba mile. These are the two options.
Interesting.
And it's the people who have the capacity to do that. And no father, if my brother, if there is some Hollandante, usually I am harsher. In my job, I am harsh towards someone I know, someone who pretends to be in my camp, someone who pretends to share my values. I am harsh towards that individual than I am to someone I don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
Because you need, if you come to me, you are telling me you share my values. That you are not a public thief. that you think that everybody deserves a better sort of life. That, public resources should be spent on the people, on public goods. So if I see you acting any funny, it hurts me, So but if people know that, if there is someone who knows that, who believes that, well, for Malagen, for example, whether it's me or any of my 5 colleagues, because Malagen has a number of journalists who are working on series of investigations. If somebody knows that either me or any of my colleagues will be lenient towards them because you think they are going to be serious with their job? They would not be, Fatou. They would not be. So this idea that Karimu Sumoleti Bariha Mbadi Wala, Ibadi Mobeki Ila Sumati Yadi. It doesn't make sense. No. So people need to, and then okay, now we hold each other to account at equal measure, regardless of who the person is. People are going to sit up straight, so that Kari Ntabe NPP, Ntabe UDP, Ntabe PDYs, that would not exist. Accountability will apply to people across the board. And that's the only Gambia you can beat. Any other Gambia will be a vicious circle of vengeance. APRs, UDP, coalition or APRC bondi, their justice applies only to APRC. NPP Fanaina, their justice applies to rest but NPP. Do Fanaina, well, justice applies to NPP only. Do Fanaina, well, justice applies to that person only. Do Fanaina, Abekela wala nyama, it will be a vicious circle until it has civil war. And Kakala, then can you see for Kakala was stuck through line? There is no stuck through line. If there are 2 ends to a pipe, countries that went to civil war, there are countries who are at war right now. They are apparently more religious than us, or at least they pretend to be.
Inshallah.
Yeah, but that means you have to fix the problem, because civil wars don't just start like that. The person who is going to fire the first shot will not be me. It will not be the person who can afford food. It will be the person who cannot afford food. And that person is not going to ask you if I should shoot someone in the head, because that person is hungry. It's hungry and angry. That's the point.
Yeah. So
you have to fix the problem before your problem fixes you. That's the idea. I mean, I say it on Facebook all the time. I say it every time. Yeah. I talk about only because I get angry sometimes.
I know.
I mean, and for crying out loud, things are too ridiculous in the Gambia. I went to a particular, the experience mental what I can stress because it's gone to a point when more dignity sort of it can more meet the economic deal and economic propose even for a bribe.
Yep.
It tells you Gambia no for dignity that is high. For a teja. Ninto more careful in the forea. It is a cartel wash. It is a ketek. It is a bulakar norm. People have pride. People no longer have pride. You should watch. We are currently working on a particular story that we are intending to publish about an abuse and how it was covered up allegedly, and how people come to profit from abuse of their own people.
Their own people, yep.
So you see.
And Mustapha.
Because you have the poverty between the Fatou.
Mustapha, and the problem is, it is our own people. When you say, for example, I'm just being general, law enforcement and others, their role is to protect the citizens, right? And do, protect. But Nika, you will call cover up Nyaming just because somebody so powerful out there is giving them all they want for their own personal good. No, Mustapha,
go back to our penny appeal story. Penny appeal story, the state have taken over. This is abuse of children by so-called philanthropists who are raising funds in the name of those children. They bring those funds from UK to the Gambia only to spend it on themselves. The state, that case came up. The state law force investigation, or they did it. This is children. I'm talking about 12-year, 13-year-old boys.
Yeah.
Children. You sit in front of, bring their story sent for editing. It has been with Sekou for some time. And, I spoke to him, I find it difficult to read through this story. I think about my child. If I die, what is going to become of him?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of society I'm going to leave my child in. Look at the sentiment of a father.
Yeah.
Like he knows, I mean, this thing I am reading is abhorrent. Like, Jumala Natamenko case Mansaro, Ministry of Justice, Minister of Children, a minister paid to protect children, and a minister paid to serve justice to children. These are the people who are telling you there is no case. When we publish our story, they said, oh yeah, haphazardly, because of course they know the international community, everybody is watching, US and others, they have interest in abuse of children, trafficking issues, child rights issues. So now they go, take it to court. They take it to court only to charge people who are not relevant and leave people out who are relevant in the name of whether Kariwal Bota Kankari Kundan call Lerban, Kariwal Bota Janale, Umbanto probably some things exchange hands. Because sometimes it's difficult to prove those things. What transpired in their offices, I cannot know that. Nor can any of my colleagues. We can only know so much. You understand?
Yeah.
But in society, that is what it tells you. In society, put at to a point when it cannot defend a baby, that society is going to hell. I mean, those children, there was Malandora Adama, who was protecting those children, and he was paying the school fees of some of them. And guess what? An old woman, and if you go through the story, you will read, I even put some snippets of this on my Facebook.
Yeah.
An old woman, Fatou, who was struggling, a single mother, who was struggling to find food for her own children. And yet, these are children who are supposed to be under the chair of a charity that is raising funds in their name in UK. Still now, Tamal story in Fenta Bolaje. Because this is the kind of society we have. Well, protecting justice. Because Sembo, power. Power temotadi, power mu alataledi.
Yeah.
Sembo ka bobulo kono nakata. Kuke bi me alon sama naketa abe diale because abe kerelalde. Because Sembo be bole bulo kono.
Ameta nyawo nyabe bolal.
Sembo mutilo le tilo ka boya ka wuli. Sembo muna nasta.
Yep.
Sembo mutilo le. Itilo as the sun sets and rises up. Sembo also goes. Sembo bele ko saya.
Yep.
Because Hanita from Manda someday.
Wallahi.
So kuke bi me alonko nin sama kete la be diale because abe kelela. Plan ayolta be kelela because Sembo be bole bulla be ta dole bulu. And wodo fana obina akela multi because society every injustice fone ala iso mennan mola me ala hikma soto enough. Every injustice create a vengeful society. Mola katara siri jamme jawara la create mol buka tonya la fotlo jamme jawara la system la create he came ka fo tiara tata tiara ji ka fo nyeko ha e ka fo tol tingol yeko tol faawol kam buro ni subo sanno ale tol begaso. Yep, that is arrogance. Jamme la tax, the taxpayers, Gambian taxpayers ka domoro men e ka faawol jomena fo be gamburo say ite wal. So mura net al they created that monster.
Yeah.
They created him because it's that vengeance filled in Jambe. That's what made him who he was. I mean, we cannot take excuses.
Yeah.
I mean, Jambe had to be held responsible for what he has done. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this society created him.
Yeah.
And this society, Jambe is not the worst of us. Jambe is one of us.
It's one of us.
Look, Fatou, nde mol kan tamba moro liare, mol kan Malagen tamba moro liare. Ntulo ka moy, mol kan ka fonye. Mome mo samba moro ya, pura ya fa. Mome mo samba moro ya pura la haju. O mari nun jongula be obula ta kila ya fa.
Tena efa.
Wala man sono ya.
Ah, Mustapha.
No, jongula le sono ya ta mori buloti di. I mean, because jongula you are so big, moro ni obula kula tumanda ta mari muta. But ni jongula le kika e fa ba fa la. Ba fa. So, mone moro li ki. You a jungle and babble. I don't let killer, a moro killer. In society, be near public official ye do fire ye do sambana. I was telling an old man, moto ibuka use. Unana. Your moto mentara je ibuka use Fatou. Yes. Your mentara je ibuka use. It's only rare cases. In some extreme cases, Tylo from a cartele. Society even the world cup when you a jam on low blood beto, if a chocho lola, a jam on low blood, it a jam on low. Because that society is not at peace with itself. That society is not at peace. Because one of the caring, I mean, these are things many are on money and you GBL and that's not all in the silo kang. And amanke barwati, amanke kariti, amanka kakari kunda bankole molte silo kang. Gambia no let a silo kang. At a silo kang, member mansakunda, mental mansakunda, Gambia no a silo kang. This is the truth. And so long, people start taking corrective measures. Banko be tininal. People start believing in Allah. If I remember how to be live in the same time, remember bina penkela, ayo karam follow. I funny after come along, I believe a that thing has to change. That's not normal behavior.
No, Mustapha. No.
I mean, those are things that, I mean, it pains you, because, you do stories all the time. The kind of story in many big. What does it change?
Nothing.
They take a story in many published. Malagen, standard, wrongs in this society. What does it change?
Nothing. Audit report from near Saveka follow Guajan.
Audit our opinion. But audit became one opinion to the internal security report, for example. This company, was it not writing to people, trying to negotiate taking of the content on our website?
Yes, even us trying for us to bring down stories. Their lawyers are still writing to us. Yep, their lawyers will come also some
money to not publish.
Go.
So you will be able to, and I tell people this, Fatou, police officer do Katara Lawrence Siloka. Itambitala B, Yakodo Diara, because he left I protect because he a crime like it. Akoeno, ye crime like and we have to also be honest. There are people in this country who are dignified.
Yeah.
And they are in public office. Yo itambita wala B, Akoeno Tenin Kodotala. Yet public officer, yet Soma. Ya aye samba la bosia aye bule tambitana ala bosia kodota sama yena akoy no ye crime like enta kodota lebul aye samba la bosia ala bosia kodota aye buleta sindi moketa. You know what that does to that person. Abele ko mome alon ko abe neumola ani abe neumola against a rising tide. Mome alon ka siso wala ka kosi baba lingola akabatale fat. Akabatale because first thing men kakala la dignity wala ka broken because public official and the police are Lawrence Silokan kango memba bulu ya tabu na mumuta instead ya police e kabula akamalu wakata mbala tumando fa aka hadanye na ye waje sinya na ninja na mari ina ata kodo ta alaba wata nimbanko e mo kendol tiyan and it has to stop Fatou. I know can do it has to stop. If I find either me or any of my colleagues, if we found wrongs, some people have done a wrong. Sometimes it's difficult to look into it. But sometimes what we try to do is to look at this thing. Does it seem like a habitual thing? Is it grave? Because more you call accident and they regret it and they don't want to do it again.
Yeah.
They have tried to do right things. I have had friends many I want to resign. Look, if you are there and you are angry and you are seeing something and you feel this is wrong, please stay because you are the right person. Don't go because you are only leaving people there who are happy at the wrong things being done. So if you are there and there are wrong things being done and you just want to stop it, please stay. because that's the kind of a person you need. Because when that person has the right leadership, that person is going to change. So this society, it has to change for more cephalic. No one that because Jame, like I said, kodo ka sunya ya kodo me kodo sunya yo denden yo sika ya samba Brussels so ya samba dulado intinyaro keta yo bondi yo denden yo ayu jonkunda you know jonkunda dafe
ila jonkunda yeah
inna kebari he used to be very angry.
I know
ni kumo dole fa aka kumo dole fa fo abuka aka mol lem fang
listen
aka boy ka buka malu you know mol ya sunya ro ka jang tix wal ya publish ada ay murun ay dol muta ke vice president aka kamfa you see it and it's true jonkunda mo le ya tinya jang you know jonkunda and tix they were I used to tell this story and it pains me sometimes jonkunda ning birade tix you know they started journalism come come down in Seku in Kenya it's exactly like Seku Minti because Seku is the editor and I am a reporter right jonkunda ning tix fanata tawala nya jonkunda was the editor and tix was the reporter wala nyama ede dundun nin dandan nita da yin foja yes split they all went their own ways jonkunda went and started his own paper tix went and started his own paper they couldn't deal with the burden of such existence you know jonkunda tix went and do his stories ultimately he struggled he was doing his stories bira dunda NPP PPV scandal story kono Affinity or Conor wrong, his paper could not survive. He was broke because he has some even though they couldn't find any evidence to prove that he was lying. So ultimately the paper closed down because he couldn't sustain it.
Yeah.
Atata, Malaysia scholarship for some people in government from what I had. So he got information that Kwakata Malaysia, they are planning to put something in your bag. In Malaysia, cocaine. And you know what they do to people in Malaysia, cocaine they kill you.
Yeah.
So they wanted to plant cocaine in his bag so that Nafta Malaysia Yafa. Yo for 6 years tabai. He succumbed to drinking, smoking. He died a lonely death. He was discovered 3 days in his apartment in Banjul. He went and he was also alone. He was taken over by depression. He struggled on and off. He was still struggling to write. He was still very intelligent. Jonkunda is one of the smartest people Gambia ever produced. Anyone who interacted with him will tell you. Jonkunda struggled with depression, on and off. Ultimately, we don't know where he is now.
Right now.
It's been 3 years. We don't know where he is. And he's presumed dead now.
Yeah.
Gambia Kawalek.
Mustapha,
Jonkunda and Tix.
Mustapha, stories like this
has never been ruled by Gambians are vengeful. And it's about time we stop lying to each other about it.
With stories like this, Mustapha, stories like the Jonkunda Vic stories, does it make you a little scary for our job, for the job we do?
Personally, I have friends who tell me, one time there was a girl who tells me, because it terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did to Jonkunda. It's not as though I don't have a personal life, but because
no,
that is what Gambia is about.
I know you don't have any. Don't.
Because it terrifies you.
Let's not go there. You don't have.
No, I mean when I said a girlfriend, I mean a girl who is a friend.
No, I mean you don't have no personal life. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm not talking about a lover. I mean a girl who is a friend. They tell you.
Yeah.
Because it terrifies me.
Yeah.
Because Gambia is not this country has always been this messed up from independence to now. This country has been ruled by vengeful people who have no morals, people who have that's what we've been doing from independence to now. Any other thing we tell each other is a lie. That's the truth. I mean, why were public corporations destroyed in this country? They were destroyed because economic recovery program that was not meant to deal with, that was not meant to make state institutions efficient. You have more staff. Your public corporations were not making profit. That was not true. The public corporations that were here were doing well. Until they could no longer take care of the people who were employed there. Because the inefficient management and they ruin people. Yonkunda ya kasara wala nyama, Sanamane ya kasara wala nyama, Edward Francis Small died in lonely death, ya kasara wala nyama. Nimbanko malafitonya fola. Anda mo kurumala siya. Nimo fonyo enka fani halafo.
But butun sila ntenda hala fo.
Well, yes. I mean, I'm sorry I took you so long on this kind
no, of... mina. Nka fola at some point fonten da hala.
Because near the half near the half, Saibe Kelamuneti. Near the half, near the half. It had a kafta molma milbetiarola. Because me or any of my colleagues at Malagen, we are not doing what we are doing because we hate or love anybody. We are not doing what we are doing because we love or hate Gambia than anybody. No, that's not my point. My point is I'm doing what I am doing as a form of self-defense. I am angry at what is happening. And that's the point. All of us just don't like people taking our money. It's personal for me. It's not for you. It's not for Samba. It's not for party. And so, for example, also, Malafi Balula Sadala. Because me, I don't want to go because dignity today.
I want to walk.
Because there is no dignity in that. How can you take pride in Sada? Can you go walk, do something, feed your family? You cannot do that. So, not someone with dignity. So for me, either of these two options are not an option for me. So me, I live based on what I can do for myself. And so I consider anybody who steals public resources as an assault on my resources. Because your public resources, I want to have a public park. I want to go to a public park and be able to browse internet. I want to go to a public library and be able to read from there. I want to go to a place and maybe a cinema or something like that. You travel, you want to do things here. So for me, this thing, I'm not doing it because I love anybody or I love Gambia or I love anything. I do it because of my own personal reasons.
Yeah. And
so that's the thing. That's why we must keep doing it, because the alternative is that's the alternative. That's the only alternative we have. Or either joining Kesadadomo or ye Bula Yatia. So you, what do? You sit down and watch them because at Barakata, you don't do that. So you do the limited what you can do. I mean, me, I don't have guns to go and shoot at anybody, but I do my journalism. And my colleagues, they don't have guns to go and shoot at anybody, but they do their journalism, either with Malagen or with on their Facebooks or any other place. So this is the only platform we have.
Yeah.
Ninjim banko man falling at Italian no. Andung now man falling fana abeduna problem or I tell you this because Jamboka falling. I'm going to make a tix la. You make a tix ninjon kundala. That's the story. You will like a tix ninjon kundala. They ruined them. They had a life destroyed. They all went into depression because of Nimpankola Ko. And Timkuru many yefa more killing more elder statesman. Elder state or Timkuru will learn Jonkudafa, will learn Tixfa. And these are petrol, these are people who died poor. They had nothing. All that they wanted is for the passing mayor along Kabesilo and Domoro Tabu in after Walla Kodo Iduna. Jonkunda Tafe, then Asitale. Jonkunda ask anybody mayor along. Jonkunda of Janakata, Janaka are missing. akana GPU na inta taraji why seko taraji why anybody taraji what other standard sirip boja ya what jonkunda ne kodo men dia ne keme diala wato do lika kamfane na be jika ngaka tala aka janjanji la ta wato do liki ibuka lo muna na kasula ni na sai because akani aka kasula la munela jonkunda mo ken dolaji they ruin him yala life ruin. You know,
I remember our last Fenko Kabra a telephone call and I picked it.
Yes.
Mustapha, you know, he doesn't want to. Nama Milong, he doesn't want to deal with you. I think it got to a point he was paranoid.
Jonkunda anunta da mante otide. Jonkunda akafo molia ko akafo wandi domoro mantol wati. One did domoro mantoli what yala I mean they can poison you. One did domoro mantoli what a bit ntolu akafo journalist because Jonkunda was a revolutionary. Jonkunda died a journalist. Jonkunda is a journalist. He went missing a journalist. He still is a journalist. Jonkunda had a journalist on him. Jonkunda is a journalist through and through. Hanala died with journalist. Jonkunda in the telephone call can come mama male. Because because you know at the latter end of his life is I don't know if we will still find him. At the latter end of his life, editorial advisor. Of course, I give him some resources. You know, coming coming Jonkunda no matter GPU and stuff, they give him money. But coming editorial. So now in the Kadiamu telephone sources already. Don't do this. They can be lying to you. Like that will use our journalism sifanda. They like Jonkunda is another level. And a sufferer of Anabe Jonkunda is another level. So he goes there he wants you to go meet this person you are talking to, so that not only will you look into his eyes, but whatever he is talking from, the evidence he will show you. We don't do this. And that is Jonkunda. This is just recently. I mean, imagine a Jonkunda at his prime. What would he have done when Jonkunda was active? What did they do? Yafa, Nitoro, you know, more many Yafa for elder statesman. In Banco Baluta Fanyan. And we need to tell each other that. And people, many Alonko Yoke, they need to have their place in Gambian history. That's what should happen in a normal country. I've stopped telling people rest in peace. Because I don't know if you deserve that peace or not.
This is a scary business.
But this is the truth, Fatou. Wala nyanta fola in Bangoka. Gambia no nyanta wala fola. Imam na wuliya fo ya fay bari imam nyindo mu faniyale. Nim president no e faniya fo ya fay Mr. President nyindo mu faniyale. That is the truth. Wala be banko do kula. Nin alkalo e faniya fo ya fay bari Mr. Alkalo nyindo mu faniyale. Moli baluto nyala. Let people Molia Baluto and anybody way Fania for Yafa in Domo Faniale. Now Baluta Wuliala Yafai. That's this thing. And ya stop cutting. Now Nima stop no kana fasala. Because you don't have to stop anybody. But you are not under any obligation to also fasa anybody Korea come. You know, we cannot continue like this. Nani memfo e wala bula journalist ol no ma men ya kata nyim banko kan yebe la hajo tinya bula activist ol no ma yebe la hajo tinya mol no ma men ya lon ko they have done their quota. Gambia mo barakari mo be abe do ya mo male fa e ka jelela abe do ya mo male fa look at it, go back history, go back in time. Edward Francis Omna mo bukato from banko kan William Case Walcott, all the journalists who have started journalism in this country, they died a lonely death. If small honey banjul me akaloje faka cartera sutoje. Faka cartera sutoje. Mo buka tofo. Han banjul ni be diamla banjul politician no nana amo le ko EF small. O be diamla journalist le ko EF small. Tamanke lo tano mentola le nana amo molla. E kela modo lel tofo. E buka moto jam ya ye wele ke molla. Ya mo barakari mo befa. This guy George Christensen Radio 1 FM. You know ka to for jam. E ka to mo e. O malong George died and journalist George was the first journalist at that time at a level of Damento. Because journalists didn't teach on blogging in this country. And he was still so George Lintoloco GPU event, he would come. Samuel Sanz, Forea, Jumala Kato for Jam. Motofanga Tabul. Huh? Mura Kato for Jam. Akotota, Abeyaf Yaflasiloka. Huh? He's old. Akmobe quite. He's an old man. It can move fooling all time in Yalonko. Honey, they don't. Ibuloni Marai Ma Bonyoto. Because he's a political party, he's still all tall. You know, you know how long Samuel Sar has been a journalist? Almost as long as old as Forea, 1984. Hanisai, who kill you about detention without trial, this without that. Forea advocacy on human rights. In journalism, you might get over that. Honey, more recent ones. The Mahali Jao and others. You are get tough. Batra whatever. You are get tough for them. No, but get tough. Ye be Nitoro, a befa, a kido, no be get tough, no be Kulian, no be get a Fonandang a GPU, a lonely event. We give them recommendation, we give them recognition. You are get tough for them. No, Barakarim of befa, they are befa Nitoro. It will many years fight for you, elder statesman. Elder statesman now. Remember to Wuliala and when the fellow, elder statesman fashion.
Now this makes me even more scared now.
This is the story of this country.
This makes
you go
me
and sit
even
down with
more
Hasum. Even Hasum Yataina talk about the history of these people.
I know, but just hearing it all, I know, but just hearing it all over again just makes me.
This is the truth.
You know,
this is the story. Even me, I sleep with these things. And I sleep with these things fearing what could happen tomorrow. Not that I care about what they plan or what they can do, but I tell you, they do things. You know, if you tell me about scholarship things, or we want you to travel, but you tell me anything that separates me and Malagen, it terrifies me. Because this is what they do.
Yeah.
Either a job of a bejana, just to ruin your life. Because they don't want an inconvenient individual, somebody who is a thorn in their flesh. They don't, because Banjul is so flawlessly corrupt, Jammu corrupt, and I tell my friends, because they still believe their Marabos can do anything to us. And that's what they do. That's what they do in public officials. All these corrupt people, business people, Banco de Bulu, Tignaro, every time, more before the beginning election was the take a call and your fasa. It's a call fast, but they don't want Malafi Tonyala because Nintonya get a battery abukano. Because if a balloon will a funny alanyadi, the other Tonya Sabat Samul Sondala. So you ask yourself, if Nin Gambiano Yela Moy Mol America Tonyafo, Faniabe Sabatin Olanyadi, at the Sabatina. And the La Politico Betene, Anotale, and I end the Seneala, Mol Tonyafo. Ni see the more Meninka, Pate Faka Dolome, Fabka Dolome, what a business. You go need to get a president or need to get a mayor, or need to get a national assembly mayor, Mulekela. You can't even call. Pate Faka Dolome, Mintala Munebeoto. For part of the Dolome. But you can the name of ruin.
Yeah.
What have been the political, what have been the public office, what have been the bad, what have been the honey in the society. What book a Tonyafo. Banco book, Gambino Silasa Tonyal, Big Tonyaf.
Yeah.
The Kuriari. inshallah, inshallah. Auzu billahi minash shaitani Allahu akbar. Hani mini ya hani na audio ji ka wala faji. Auzu billahi minash shaitani bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ita ka ofo kana afanya afi.
Mustapha Mulawai.
No, but that is what they do. Do you know ninde asota jambi, ninde asota msawala. I will ban use of religion in public office because panialem. Don't tell me Auzu billahi minash shaitani. If you are sincere about Auzu billahi minash shaitani, say it in your mouth. I don't need to hear that. Fuck off on tele. What is Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim to me? It is you saying to your creator that I am coming to do this and help me, God. I don't need to hear that. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim for me. What is that? What is Bismillah? What is that? Assalamu alaikum, yes, because he do a contain. He can find a Cairo Bay. He go a Cairo Bay fanai. But Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, he go for Alale. He go for Fonte. So why are you citing that? Why are you telling me that? Why are you telling me Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin? You go and thank God for what you are thanking God for. That is your business, not mine. So don't tell me that. So if I have my way, I ban such kind of nonsense in public office. You don't come tell me Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Auzu billahi minash shaitanir. Go and tell somebody else. Go and tell God. Because that is for God, not for me. Assalamu alaikum, yes, that is for me because you are praying for me, praise be with you. And I said, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. If I saw peace, please. Yeah? Wala musilod. But in Fayetando Bay, Fania fallen because near Yinke bitu Molia in a theatre dinner and sign honey butter I make a more color. But a car dinner, yes, I for Molia. Oh, do you know it?
I know.
This kind of things need to stop. But
don't have an antisila Mustapha and Teben Parker and American. I'm all quite a car.
So good, you know. Guy, because here, Pakita American because neither are nobody will come here or it was somebody. So what are you going to do?
Mass ended up, why? I see, but it
is in Gambia.
But it's so. But you need
to make sure Gambia works for Gambia.
But woman dear, yeah, but woman dear. It's on the
I mean, look, for all intents and purposes, I think, electricity is much better in that. I mean, I tell them during the other day, they are water doing collecting cooler and bigger, not pump over a pressure sort of big on Kuno because our use no. But I don't like you know, the pressure in Badibu, like, you know, arrangement or a molia pump will do. The pressure is so good.
Yeah.
Because Pompol the Silver can yes, I only a Pompol in the Lasuel. The pressure is so good.
Yeah.
I don't be faced to answer and Sareto like a Balito collect what Sareto.
Or Martina Badibu, Martina Badibu, thank you, Martina Badibu, the other day, and I swear to God.
But at least we have water.
But
electricity too, electricity too, because electricity is super good here. And I've seen that myself.
But I like now 3G, behind 4G phone because of the day.
Yes, 3G, and sometimes it's even less than that.
And I think at our WhatsApp audio, right now, Nintaraji Duma, Abepa Modula Moika. That is something that's 8 o'clock. So,
that's it. I'm on Sona, but it cannot continue like this.
Yeah.
It's your, I mean, every Gambian has a stake in this country. I used to tell people a country is like a company.
Yeah.
Every citizen is a shareholder in a company. And that means every citizen owns one butut in the combined sum of what makes this country.
Yeah.
So that means that my share, I watch over how my share is managed. I'm not doing that for you. And no matter how arrogant you are going to sit on your butt and hear me out. Because if you don't want that, you hand over that position. Because it's my share in it.
Yeah.
That I'm talking about. If you don't want that, you vacate. So if they leave, I don't leave. They leave. I am the citizen. If they don't want this inconvenience we create, they leave. We don't leave. Yes. Yeah. So that's how it works.
That's how it works. Well, you know, I love this conversation. It's good. You know, we need this reminders time once in a while. But the fact of the matter is, we know Abba did not resign. He was forced out, and it has to do with some land and investigations that was done. So we hope the government will come out and clear the air and tell us. You just cannot sow doubts in our mind. California ko resign tale, bari ay kule ke mi alon kanal plaso mantano. That is, you are asking. Ibe femko le gena question le gena raise kan pumol kono. So near okay. Speculation bekela, and somebody said this government is the biggest peddler of misinformation. You understand? Because and they create room for misinformation for them. Because info I muneke
state lekaki. And that is why we need to nina de la kuntam for laka for her stop misinformation, stop this state kuja keta in dunia kon state layaki. State leka injustice create, that's what create war. State leka injustice create menka citizen will grieve yandi. State is what creates all devices. Whatever caring, dunia la history quality. Whatever hani jang fania for state lekaki. You know, state alante investigation both all lemeni alongo. The state would say this thing, you look into it, you see a different story. Don't be gente diam nola wala because we don't publish those stories.
Yeah.
But fania burunto lebe gentle nyai manage. So jambanko kan fania fola mu state net. Ibuka tonya for. And they have this work mindset ko public you can do PR fania na fota wati wataka koile watodo.
Yeah.
What a PR. PR mu tonya fola. Good public relations mu tonya fola. Yaje mo ni hani ko keme ala koleata. Like, I will give you an example. Deportation o men kakete.
Yeah.
Jandi mansa kunda be mabon. Na banku dimo be wande banku waka. European or ko e man la fira je. Ya wala fo e ko 3,000 something Gambia e man la fira banku kan. Wande banku lam. Ita la banku dimo lem. Ni be ol accept lana. For a European or and all told Beje, criminal offense. Because someone was telling me, they become will do a Yamal deport. Jamal Beje, there has to be some background. You need to be a profile. Come and sit people down, you're torn halfway. In the politics, Nimeketa, you carry Mutalinina, or Hanima for no Mutanina, because
but it's a Masakunda a uniform. Mimbe
Ha, what I'm mutangi muru na utonyale. Nimbe balanta wala fana be balankan tonyala. That is how a responsible state should behave. Ne atara kome musalfe nyanta kodole didela, and you don't have enough resources. Tell these Gambians we can afford to do this, but you know kodo tembolo. Let them see you are genuinely honest about things. Wala banku marot the funny afford because kavoko ha you know made important because what ultimately from offense doesn't have a jila duman. Funny al nika pile nyokan ye kilim for mole yaje o funny al ya for mole fula mole saying akamele eko wulo ni mole ya sute wuli ala ana kana ka honya al kana la kamem for funny ala. So nimman sakunda it becomes a national security issue because like corona can I corona not at a because people have lost faith in government. When there is a pandemic, nobody trusts government, nobody trusts what you do because people have lost faith in you. So that is why they need to be honest with people. Transparency. Government book a transparency for its citizens. Government get transparency for its own sake. Because government must citizen or business wallet, and it survives on the goodwill and authority of its citizens. And in order for it to maintain that citizens, that authority, that is the reason why it's transparent. Government is not transparent because it wants to favor anybody. Government is transparent for its own sake, for it to have its own authority. Power is self-sustaining. Power fangoleka fangomara. But power mu kangoleti wakangwa ni fania fweka fo kangolane. That's it. So wala na mansakunda ya tonya okay kari ya baile ya kari baile na yafo o kari ya court. Ni atata court ni found guilty at a prison amela ko di sunya ning ala yelon di fa amela bi tele nyin kal ning ala nin tamu president o de mo na ta ko nyako kari balance ba fa like okay that is not a problem tay nin te kari balance ala be mu ne kelantela tay ni ta ni sama ni na yo fanyi because ala entele marandi nyin banko la resources kari yo banko la resources ne sunya foare wala fe wala say ninte yo bula tata say ninte tata alaya say ala be membe ala kono yo lo ne ba ta ni nata ni yo fonye na bula atina because jang imam wala ka okay kam wala ka funyo me kata ko president no he kari bula fa ela fe wala sunya why kari la fe wala sunya ay mo la fe wala sunya de ka president yo bula ado bula be juma ala kan wala ka itela kan o bando fo president wala ka sa o mo la kan o dum sa ala ya ani president of the time move ala anga kare bula because adiata nya
but Mustapha yalom fana Mustapha but na constitution oko nim president o mobile I somebody he doesn't have to tell us kodi so ngane ko na try sunya role ke especially itol new statement to info come president can relieve anybody of their cabinet position and don't tell us what they do, right? What they did. But if the government itself came out and made it clear, like it contravenes his position as a cabinet minister, that means something really happened. If you're telling us that.
One is President also move by without owing the public an explanation as to why. Because near Luale Tina sign. President also move by no member Luatina, man Fenka, Keno. I wouldn't wrong, Nimando Kuano, or Mansaf Naftala Yamek, or the lifetime Menka Mawalaki Abai. And you can do that. Among winning, I lual it in our cooking in there. Cooking I bankola family tina, I bankola family sunya. Or but a president of Bulo Conal sign, Sani Luala Beyo. President Omang, President Oka claimants, Fenko Kela, Aka, Moli, many crime, ye convict, Ake Balano. So President Obukauki. Yeah, but wakata relate ata system wala kono ita ba years 4 years soto ko to nato ya nye kule ya samba ko ya kitindi kita ya samba mile too so wala okay yalo also fat kodo luwa man fem foji o luwa ya ke koma ya dandile o kodo beji there are gray areas o kodo beji you don't do them there is also you have to apply law in good faith. Kafoko luwa nyineke, luwa nyinefo, so onte be wala kena. You have to apply law on good faith. So President Anantra Komika ni mobile o memfongofo. It's transparent near mobile ya by menaya for mole. Ni man lafi fana, that's fine. But when you soon are what killing one different I wallet, mela fengoma, one different bankota I wallet. That's not yours. That's property belonging to the people. When yanta follow and umari yanta kitila. Yeah, what tell a family? Memula family ka for wala mari Canada kitia. But the Mankela family hope that Martin should go to prison. So yours. And I luala tina. That is why civil servants have code of conduct.
Yeah.
I mean those code of conduct need to be abided by. If anybody violates that person needs to face the penalty. What I get a banjala. Now at a baroko banja, at a banja like bucket. You know, banja la do not. But I don't know about that, but baro wala. So, but the thing is, why did Banja go to prison? Because Banja allegedly took not allegedly anymore. He has found guilty of taking a bribe, 100 million, 100,000. So that is why he went to prison. File or bribing Baro Kamakanga Ata Gambian people or the authority Mendiala or trust, I will betray.
Mustapha, you have a credit, what do you close 2 hours credit? 2 hours. Be what there. Bana bari mun kaji mabe na credit ko jola de bare na credit Mustapha ngo ngo man bari mun kaji mabe na credit ko jola bare 2 hours call being like
yeah, so I think we need to let go right now. I mean, you need to save some money for whatever it is to come.
I know, right?
Yeah, I mean,
we're
going to be here for a long time to come.
It's going to be a long ride, but we'll be fine.
Yeah, inshallah. Inshallah, we'll be here for a long time to come.
We'll be fine.
You know, there shouldn't be. I mean, no kind of so fast, so kind of new fast. So.
And then the thing is, yeah, I think it energizes us more even to know. Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean, this is something we are doing for ourselves. You know. Like I said, everybody is doing what you're doing for yourself. You know, it's your country, it's your resources that somebody is messing up with. I mean, you know, I get furious here. I mean, you go to this coastline, in TDA area, Senegambia area, Katafo, Burufut, Mafanga, Katafo, Tangi. What you see on the beach, like they are building everywhere. I mean, they are building there. Dalo.
But Mustapha, I know we have Minkanjahal. You for right? It brings something. Moli la kudol boni million or femolu. You land sang on the TDA, Kodi, because mole wafia. Ye na iko mu TDA lete ya ta wolu bulu because wolu individual but you cannot tell you cannot di bank mo dol la miru bank dingo dol fo manke bank dingo ti but no Mustapha no Mustapha ndinga mo long I land sang almost $1 million plus I sang some years back sanji jelo amon fenkeno yela land table sai wol plan no be allocate kam modolia andu ko man noje Mustapha
no la je because jambe wala nyama jammol baluta wala no la je because that is it, and that is what they tell people, you know. Yeah. So I'm also but I mean, this is something that would take, like I said, Banko Tinyatale, Young Mulla Dajiko, and also put into consideration since independence in Banko, a political Hanijawana days, new booty political Bijang. You know, so Nyarol Keta Kumam Boje, Fengo Tinyarol Keta, Fengo Sipabil. So you can bring independence for now on Benina Kono. Tinyarol Keta me along for 50 years, more than Kuluta Kono. And so time for Jawara time maybe if you say at a Fonga Baluno. Time for Tata to a point more Baluno. And Fuarea Fana creates his own indignity. Because Fuareo man dignity sort of. Fuarea is violence.
It's very painful.
It's violence because Fuarea man dignity sort of. Among Baluo sort of. That means he has to go and beg people. I'll pride your heart. And ultimately that has impact on the person's mindset, you know. And so, you know, we also, you know, Fuarea, you have to also see that the society is becoming more material minded. And the economy is not growing to keep up with that. The society is becoming more material minded. In other words, people need more money than the economy could genuinely provide. So the people who had the opportunity to steal, they steal. They become more material minded and they want more resources. More resources. I want to buy a range. If you have a range, you want to buy something more expensive. If you have that, you want to buy more expensive. I mean, you go to public offices, National Assembly members, then they say they want more clothes, good clothes. You go to the Pan-African Parliament, they need to dress well. Clothing allowance, what I have. So now they are paying each other 100,000. Now we call a motor kutu another 3.9 million. So what I'm caring. So public official kaketende. And this is what they will continue to do. So the people they serve will continue to be poor. So what are they caring? But society, but public official they are coming from all the political parties. So that tells you, young, we have a problem with the society itself.
Yeah.
So more than how Nate is almost at the same level or worse than that person. Yeah, no problem was.
Yeah.
Exactly. So society needs to change. This society needs to stop lying to itself. Simple. Let's be honest to each other. understand because I've seen people many along like inshallah you seen for you a thing if you know a thing and they are still lying. They are still destroying public resources. They are still doing all the wrong things that you expect someone else to do. The society needs to change, Fatou. At the tilil nola, society the falina. Aba falina nanda ha kuntankela, nanda ha kamoro le haya janibe moro haya la do the right thing. Mafo kana moro yade. That is between you and the moro and other things. That's not mine. Yeah? But make sure you do the right thing.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. But society has to adopt that kind of attitude. No one that it are. No one that they fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they fix it.
They fix it. Mustapha.
Yeah.
Amram badana jane molbe jibe lebe mun last message dila molla.
Yeah.
Gaibe mun last message dila molla molbe jibe kam.
No, I'm not. I mean, me, I have nothing to say. I mean, I tell people, stop praising other people. Stand up for yourself. But that is not radicalizing people. Stand up right now. If the government fails to protect your land, stand up and defend it yourself. Stand up and protect yourself. That is not violence. That is self-defense. If you need to raise an army to protect the public land, raise an army and protect yourself. That is, if government fails to defend the people should show the government they own the government. The people should now take up the whatever it is that they can take up and defend themselves. That is what citizenship is about. Citizen all the time bank. You cannot take my land because I got a political platform like a food. You cannot land me and then I can do what I can did in the world. How can you do that? You cannot do that. So people should stop praising people. There is no hero. Democracy does not need a hero. Democracy does not need an investigative journal. Democracy does not need Jato. Democracy needs citizens. Every citizen is a Jato on his own. Stand up and protect and defend yourself. If government fails to defend you, defend yourself however means you can. And that is not violence. That is self-defense. That is what it is. Illegal takeover. They want to overthrow. They want to do this. They want to do that. They are violent people. They want to protest. They want to. They should stop listening to them. They should stop listening to them. The only people here with the capacity to destabilize this country is government. Soldiers we don't have guns. Do we? Citizens don't have guns.
No.
They protest from the macho from Bukatarabul. Macho Katarabul. Protest violent. For security, they are violent. Sometimes someone can infiltrate. Now come on, infiltrate to instigate violence just to justify arresting them. Say those that here. No, many times. So the citizens need to defend themselves. That is what democracy is about. Like I said, you have to stop. You have to stop it yourself. And that means citizens need to mobilize. I'm not talking about politics. That's an easy thing. Go to a political platform and talk stuff to take over power. I'm not interested in that. What I am saying is, they have a voice and make sure government does the right thing. But a government that tells people need them the social media that woman citizen because a citizen is a participant. I come to a board meeting. This shareholder I feel something is not right. I come to a board meeting and you think any shareholder sits down and watch people to do anything with their investment? They don't do that. They make sure they stop it, and they know they have the capacity to do so. That's what citizens are. You have the capacity to stop nonsense and take it upon yourself to stop it. That's all I can say. And that's not violent. That is self-defense.
Yes.
However way you can do it, however way you can protect your land or anything, do it. That's not violence. It's self-defense.
Thank you so much, Mustapha. I'm from a time of sita ngaji la be call kan sinya saba. At a time that's time susu watu sita la nkata I'm from a call la drum.
Okay.
Thank
Well,
you.
I hope he's not terrified with what I'm saying. But anyway.
No, I'm not sure if he's watching, but he always watch. But I don't know. I don't think he's watching. I don't think. No, he's not. I don't think so. I don't think so. But this is, yeah, this was.
Yeah,
good.
I'm not gonna book office like I have to go home now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because being and them, I just left Salikera today, and
I was a bit. What about you?
Yeah, I came home. I am back today, and yeah, you know, I'm not easy. It was so exhausting. The ferry. I mean, I was laughing on my social media about Gambia not being able to manage a boat. I am so pissed. And in Bangkok, it's going to drive me crazy.
Crazy, I know. It's
because those things we should be able to do, because I mean, you leave Salekenya, can you imagine? You cannot even have a ferry, you know?
I know.
Hello,
Exactly.
So those are things that
I go ferry kutul kanale. So ni wala nata obala. Warang bridge ngama ECOWAS is funding bridge. So ni oketa silang avisoni ala.
Yeah, maybe I hope so.
Yeah.
And you know, at this point, I am no longer keen on accepting promises anymore. So.
I know. All right, Mustapha. Thank you so much for this conversation, frank conversation. But let me drop and then we'll talk later.
Okay.
All right. Be safe out there.
Okay.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. You know, I'm tired. Let's what I'm tired. I'm scared. I'm worried. All of that. Just because of all the things Mustapha said. But these are the hard realities, and it's it might be crazy, but again, I think the reason why sometimes these conversations will happen is because a government is not giving us information. Then we will have to do the digging, and what we know, we will have to say it. And what we know is that Abba was forced to resign. He did not just do it on his own, and even the government statement said something happened. He contravenes his position as a cabinet minister. What did he do? That we need to know. Yes, the president has prerogative, to hire and fire people. But if it involves something, it's a misconduct or something that somebody did, as a minister, I think the public, that is accountability. The public deserves to know. I know there are other things about campaign financing and others that, also came up. We heard about that about a month ago. I don't want to delve into that because I think that is some personal issues for me. That is not government money or something. So I'm not going to say that, but I know that is something also that we were told some time ago, and also is coming up today in different areas. But that is something that I don't want to talk about because that is, I think it's not government money, it's political money or something. And we cannot verify it 100%, but we know that that was something that we were told like a month ago also. So all of these things were things that we were told. But one thing we can confirm is that the NIA were investigating the ministry regarding the land allocation in Kamalo and the Kotu Strip. And when Abba was governor at CRR, some of the things that happened there were things that also came up. And the report came, and the president really had to force him to resign. This is what we got. And I think that is what happened. But we await what the government said. That's why we kept saying allegedly. We kept saying allegedly because, we need somebody to confirm it. But I can tell you the information we got and where we got it from. Unless government comes with something else, but we wait for that. But this is what we got from different people in government circles. So I think this is something that we'll be doing. It's going to be difficult to drag Mustapha to do this, but this is something that I'm thinking that we should be doing very often now, to look at what is happening generally, look at things, because at the end of the day, it's important. So I thank you all for watching. See you on Thursday next week for my show, unless something else happens. If not, see you next week, Thursday, and bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching, all of you. Thank you. Allah baraka bye. Allah baraka. Thank you. Mustapha and Credit Koban. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.